our meeting. Welcome to the Board of Education, and thank you again for joining us. And we're going to call this meeting to order and begin with our wonderful students over at North Verdamont. We have Mrs. Brady's third grade class, and it's going to be led by a fourth grader, Blake Davenport.
For the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart and ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Awesome, Blake. I hope you are watching. You've done an amazing job. And to the North Verdamont class, thank you so much for leading us in our pledge. All right, we are now at 1.3, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. If there's no discussion, Mr. Tillman?
Aye.
Dr. Flores?
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos? Ms. Ceballos?
Aye. Sorry.
Dr. Hill?
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt?
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina?
Aye.
And Dr. Dowdy Rogers, aye. Motion carried. We are now at 1.4, inspirational message, and it's coming from Vice President Dr. Scott Wyatt.
Oh, good evening, everyone. And, I'm usually known for showing videos because I love videos, but this time I am going to do a little bit of reading. And as we all know, that there are so many things going on in the wonderful month of May. We've had our Teacher Appreciation Week, our Classified Appreciation Week, our Nutrition Workers Appreciation Week, our Principal Day was Saturday, and I believe the list goes on and on and on. So just May is a very busy month, and we just want to know we appreciate everyone. But for me, there's a very special place in my heart because I've been living with it, and that is May is also Mental Health Awareness Month. So, I just want to recognize that, do a little bit of reading. Then I have a couple quotes I'll read just after my message. So, as we know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And as many of you know, I've personally been involved with that topic of mental health on numerous levels, personally as a father and as a family man, and now most importantly as a board member. And as we all know, mental health issues and concerns have dramatically escalated with the COVID-19 pandemic. So my goal is to continue to bring greater awareness to mental health and the challenges we will continue to face as we transition to bringing our students and staff back to school. We can all be affected when a loved one experiences mental health issues. Knowing what to say or how to act or what we can do to help is not always clear. Other times we might be the one who's struggling. Anxiety, depression, trauma, these are conditions and others have affected billions around the world and throughout history. Talking about mental health can give us freedom to seek help, find people who can relate, and move forward and toward well-being and healing. So let's continue the conversation about mental health. Together we can work to stop the stigma surrounding the mental health issues many of us face while creating a healthier and happier workplace and learning environment. So just a couple of quick quotes, and I really like these because they're short, number one, but they're also really what we need to talk about. And it says, this one's by Russell Wilson. It says, if we start being honest about our pain, our anger, and our shortcomings, instead of pretending they don't exist, then maybe we'll leave the world a better place than we found it. So, one thing I think is just awareness and being able to have an honest conversation about, how we are maybe feeling. And I know that's not easy for us, but it's something we need to learn to do. And then this one is actually author unknown, and I don't want to take credit for it. But some of the most comforting words in the universe are me too. That moment when you find out that your struggle is also someone else's struggle, that you're not alone, and that others have been down the same road. So for many of us, we know this year has been a tremendous struggle for many of our staff, many of our students, many of our families. So just know, we say this, and it's kind of a mantra, that we're all in this together and that we're going to come out of this together as well. And hopefully we come out of this better than we went into it. But we know there's going to have to be a lot of healing, a lot of understanding, and a lot of patience. So that is my message, Madam President, to our staff and our families and our students, that we care about them. We're going to do our very best to provide the best services as we can to our students, to our staff, and to our families in regards to mental health and mental wellness. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wyatt. Thank you so much. So appropriate, because we will be reading a resolution tonight around Mental Health Week. All right, we're now moving to 2.1, recognition of National Teacher Appreciation Week, California Day of the Teacher, and San Bernardino City Unified School District's Day of the Teacher. Mr. Tillman.
My pleasure. Whereas National Teacher Appreciation Week is observed annually during the first full week in May and sponsored by the National PTA, and whereas the second Wednesday in May is recognized as California Day of the Teacher, which arose out of legislation co-sponsored by the California Teachers Association and the Association of Mexican American Educators and adopted in 1982. And whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education, spending countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and whereas teachers have been responsible for educating millions of students since the state's founding and have led efforts to promote and advance educational opportunities for all, and whereas a strong, effective system of free public education for all children and youth is essential to our democratic system of government, and whereas May 14, 2021 is a day San Bernardino City Unified School District honors its teachers, who are second to none in their chosen profession. And whereas despite the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and facing personal and professional challenges, our teachers continue to work tirelessly to provide student instruction through distance learning, and their immense work has provided a much needed sense of community and connection. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District proclaims the week of May 3rd through May 7th, 2021 as National Teacher Appreciation Week, and May 12th, 2021 as California Day of the Teacher, and urges all citizens to pay tribute to our public school teachers. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education proclaims May 14, 2021 as a day to celebrate the district's exceptional teachers and express its gratitude for their service, dedication, and professional excellence, and ask the San Bernardino City Unified School District family and community to come together to make a difference in the lives of our students. So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. If there's no discussion, Mr. Tillman.
Aye.
Dr. Flores.
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos.
Aye.
Dr. Hill.
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt.
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina.
Aye.
Dr. Dowdy Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. We're now moving to 2.2, recognition of California Student Mental Health Week. And I will read that tonight. Whereas the week of May 10th through May 14th, 2021 is recognized as California Student Mental Health Week, and whereas students' mental health too often goes unnoticed, and research has shown that adverse childhood experiences have lasting harmful impacts if not addressed, and whereas reducing the stigma surrounding mental health will empower students to speak up when they need help, and whereas the early identification, intervention, and treatment of mental health and behavior issues is important for a healthy student body and student community, and whereas researchers have found the rate of mental health disorders in children and youth have steadily increased over the past 2 decades, and our students' lives have been changed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, with emotional stability likely to be a focus of concern for years to come. Whereas districts, through their unique role in serving children and youth, have an opportunity to address student health early and effectively, and the need for comprehensive, coordinated mental health services for students is a critical part of an overall education plan. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District hereby proclaims the week of May 10th through May 14th, 2021 as California Student Mental Health Week, and acknowledges the importance of student mental health and recognizes year-round attention to paramount to the health and the success of students. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. If there is no other discussion, Mr. Tillman.
Aye.
Dr. Flores.
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos,
Aye.
Dr. Hill,
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt,
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina,
Aye.
Dr. Dowdy Rogers, aye, motion carried. 2.3, Mrs. Ceballos.
Thank you. Whereas May 12, 2021 is National School Nurse Day, and whereas school nurses have served a critical role in ensuring students' academic success for more than 100 years, and whereas students today face more complex and life-threatening health problems requiring care in school, and whereas school nurses support the health and educational success of children and youth by promoting wellness and improving health outcomes for the nation's children, and whereas school nurses act as a liaison between the school community and families, and whereas school nurses understand the link between health and learning and are in a position to make a positive difference for children every day, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District proclaims May 12, 2021 as National School Nurse Day and acknowledges the accomplishments of the district's school nurses and their continued efforts to meet the needs of today's students to help them stay healthy and in school, ready to learn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. If there's no discussion, Mr. Tillman,
Aye.
Dr. Flores,
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos,
Aye.
Dr. Hill,
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt,
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina,
Aye.
Dr. Dowdy Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. 2.4, recognition of classified school employees appreciation week. Dr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Madam President. Be my pleasure. Whereas in 1986, California Senate Bill 1552 established the third week of each May as Classified School Employee Week in order to recognize the vital contributions of classified employees, and whereas classified employees are recognized as integral to the success of students in public education and have earned respect in the education community, and whereas in order for the San Bernardino City Unified School District to run effectively and efficiently, it depends daily on the dedication and capabilities of its more than 2,500 classified employees. And whereas classified employees work with commitment in supporting the mission of the district and thereby provide many benefits to the community, its schools, and the state of California. And whereas classified employees stepped up to the challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic, many as essential workers serving our students in district as never before. Classified staff continue to work to keep our schools and buildings clean and maintained while closed, to prepare and pass out meals to thousands of students and families weekly, to provide every student with the technology they need in a distance learning environment, and thousands of classified staff continue to work from home to keep the district running smoothly and efficiently. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District proclaims May 16th through May 22nd, 2021 as a time to honor all classified school employees and recognize their long and excellent service. So move.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. If there's no further discussion, Mr. Tillman,
Aye.
Dr. Flores,
Aye.
Ceballos,
Aye.
Dr. Hill,
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt,
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina,
Aye.
and Dr. Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. All right, we are now getting ready to adjourn to our closed session. I do want to remind everyone, if you didn't see our Teacher Appreciation Week video, it will run during our closed session. So thanks again for all who participated, and congratulations to our teachers. We're going to log out now, board, and we'll see you in closed session.
Dr. Rogers,
Yes.
I just wanted to note that there are no public comments for closed session.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we are going to move out. Please log out.
Hello, everyone. It is my honor and privilege to bring you greetings during Teacher Appreciation Week. Having served the district as an elementary teacher, working nearly 20 years in human resources, and collaborating with many of you on a number of projects and programs throughout the years, I've been fortunate to work with and hire literally thousands of the finest certificated employees, not only in San Bernardino City Unified, but across the state. And never has it been more obvious and gratifying that so many SBC USD educators are devoted to the children of this district than this past school year. Even though many of you have your own children and families to care for and protect during this pandemic, you have risen to the challenge. You demonstrated your commitment to the importance of lifelong learning by teaching yourselves and others how to use new virtual learning tools. You found new ways to connect with your students and to connect your students to school and education, despite the challenges of distance and technology. And you demonstrated compassion as you work to accommodate the diverse needs of your students and their families. Along with our classroom teachers, I want to thank our counselors who provided much needed support to students. And I want to give thanks to our program specialists, speech therapists, nurses, and all of our certificated staff who work so diligently to make hope happen for our students. I believe that one day we will look back on our response to the COVID pandemic and count it as yet another example of how we're willing to do whatever it takes to serve our school community. I want you to know that everyone in the SBC USD family recognizes your hard work and that you are valued and appreciated. You are truly heroes for our students and their families. Thank you.
Hello, I am Board of Education President Dr. Gwen Dowdy Rogers. As a proud graduate of this great school district, I am a testament to the passion and dedication that our San Bernardino City Unified School teachers bring to our classrooms each day, whether in person or remote for the past year. Yes, this is the second year that we celebrate Teacher Appreciation Week virtually. And since our families have definitely become teachers in their own right since COVID-19 closed our schools, let me congratulate our dedicated families also. You're indeed a part of our teaching family. As challenging as some families found it to help us educate children in distance learning, teachers choose to do it day in and day out. For the opportunity to make hope happen by putting children on the path towards a successful future. So on this National Teacher Week, since we can't show up this year and personally express our appreciation to our San Bernardino and Highland teachers, it's important to truly tell them how much their work means. It's important to remind our teachers how amazing they are, how much we appreciate them, and tell them stories and examples of how they made a difference in the lives of children. As your Board of Education President, I would like to extend my gratitude on behalf of the entire Board of Education to every San Bernardino City Unified School District teacher for your selfless service. We are grateful to you today and every day, and we can't wait to welcome our teachers back in person next school year. Thank you, and remember, we are in this together.
Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Wyatt. As your Board of Education Vice President and a fellow educator here in our region, it is my pleasure to honor our San Bernardino City Unified teachers during National Teacher Appreciation Week. The 2019-20 school year brought us new complexities with no advance warning, and teachers across San Bernardino City Unified School District rose to the challenge. You helped our students with technology at the start of distance learning, and by now, you're all rocking remote learning. Indeed, the 2021 school year was perhaps the toughest year of your teaching career, but not only did you survive, you found a way to thrive. And you found ways to continue making hope happen for our students. You deserve to be honored 365 days a year. After all, teaching is the profession that launches every career, and that is worth celebrating. Teachers are true nation builders, and without them, no other profession would be possible. They inspire and they change lives in and out of the classroom. Families, we hope you all join us at San Bernardino City in uplifting all the excellent teachers across our school district. Thank you for all that you do.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Doc Irvin, and I will soon have the honor of leading this great district as your new superintendent. Officially, I will join the San Bernardino City Unified School District team on June 1st, and I look forward to meeting all of you soon. As you know, this is Teacher Appreciation Week in our nation. I want to take this opportunity to express my deepest gratitude to our teachers. Yes, I already claim you as my teaching family for the work you do to ensure the success of our students. I have been watching you from the Bakersfield City School District area where I currently serve as superintendent and have been very impressed with the quality of your approach to distance learning. I saw an example of educators in San Bernardino going above and beyond the call of duty to help children. That speaks volume to me because kids are where my heart is. In fact, since the Board of Education voted to close school campuses last March, our teachers have risen to the challenge and quickly learned and adapted to distance learning. Many of you have found creative and caring ways to keep our scholars engaged in learning, all while extending kindness and respect beyond our buildings and into our students' homes. And we know that many of you have done so while tending to your own children and families. In closing, as we wrap up an entire year of distance learning and gear up to embark on another year of growing, developing, teaching, and guiding, please know how fortunate we are to be able to call you a colleague, teacher, educator, and collaborator, and how fortunate I feel to be joining this organization of professionals. I believe, because I've watched it happen, that you are a team of educators who are always striving to improve on the excellence you already achieved. I am eager to work collaboratively with each and every one of you to build on your successes for the benefit of the children in our community. Be safe and be well. Thank you.
All right, I can't see everyone. Let's see. I see Dr. Wyatt, and I see Miss Ceballos. Dr. Wyatt, do you see anyone else?
No, Madam President, I think that's it right now. But
Okay.
I'm monitoring.
Okay.
Yep, so far it's just the three of us.
Okay. They look like they're still admitting.
Okay, yep, that's it for now.
Okay, I see Dr. Hill.
You see it now?
And Dr. Wyatt, I hear you giving me, are you just low?
Yeah, I was actually not speaking high at that
Okay,
point. Kind of
okay.
mumbling. Danny Tillman,
Okay.
Mr. Tillman's in the waiting room.
Okay,
He should be coming in.
all right.
So that should be just, remember Rosas Medina and maybe Dr. Flores.
Okay.
Dr. Flores is in.
Okay, very good.
Chris is in, okay, who
There
are we
she is.
missing? Are we
So-
missing Mr. Tillman and Miss
No,
Medina?
Mr. Tillman's in
Okay,
and Miss Medina looks like she's in. So that should be everyone.
okay, all right, great.
You
I
know,
think
Madam
everyone-
President, I forgot to tell folks in my motivational reading and quotes that may the fourth be with them.
I know, I love that. All right, we are going to resume our meeting. Thank you,
If you
Dr.
haven't seen my background, just so you know.
And I was thinking that was, but I didn't want to assume, but if I had to guess, I would have won, so good.
Yes, you would have, Madam President. You're very.
All right, we are now back at 4.1 HR class -20-21-12-ER. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the notice of recommendation for disciplinary action and statement of charges to suspend 2 days without pay the following classified employee from his or her employment with the district.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved in second. If there is no other discussion, Mr. Tillman,
Aye.
Dr. Flores,
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos,
Aye.
Dr. Hill,
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt,
Aye.
Ms. Rosas Medina, Ms. Rosas Medina. Can't hear her. Dr. Dowdy Rogers, aye. Motion carried. I don't know if her mic is off.
No, Abigail's frozen.
She's frozen. Okay, so I know she's at a remote location. All right, we're now going to move to 5.1. All right. 5.1, San Bernardino City Unified School District's initial contract proposal successor to the San Bernardino School Police Officers Association. And I am now going to open up the public hearing. Mrs. Cunningham, are there any comments?
No, there are not.
There are none. All right, I will now close the public hearing. Be it resolved that the Board of Education received the initial contract proposal from the district to the San Bernardino School Police Officers Association. Is there a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. If there is no discussion, I will take the vote. Mr. Tillman,
Aye.
Dr. Flores,
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos,
Aye.
Dr. Hill,
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina.
Can you hear me? Aye.
Yes, thank you. Dr.
Okay.
Dowdy Rogers, aye, motion carried. Thank you. All right, we are now moving to 6.1 and our resuming service board discussion. Dr. Volkmer, the legacy himself.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Madam President. Board, we're going to bring you just a brief discussion about resuming some of our services this evening. Despite seeing a small uptick in case rates over the last couple weeks, conditions are continuing to move generally in the right direction and remain favorable. The county, the two cities we serve and the school district are all still squarely in the orange tier. I heard today that actually LA County is in the yellow tier now. So that's good news, and hopefully we'll follow them fairly quickly. Tonight we want to share some information related to resuming practices for our choirs and bands in preparation for our outdoor in-person graduation ceremonies. We know we want to make them as festive as we can in a safe manner. So we want to bring back some services related to that and wanted to share that with you this evening. So Anna, if you would.
Thank you, Dr. Volkmer. If you can please bring up the presentation, Mr. Chavez. Thank you. So good evening, Board President, Dr. Rogers, Board Vice President, Dr. Wyatt, board members, Dr. Volkmer, Cabinet, and our viewing members as well. We'd like to propose today some resuming services around our music education. So you will get an update on the latest COVID numbers, and then our Visual and Performing Arts Coordinator, Mr. Scott Nelson, will present the proposal to you, Board. So thank you. We can move forward to the next slide. And Mr. Vitir, I know that you are here. If you can please go over this slide for us on the latest updates.
Will do, Ms. Applegate. Thank you. Good evening, board, cabinet, and community. So our COVID numbers continue to drop in this latest reporting period, which is April 18th to the 24th. As of about 11 a.m., this was all with the exception of the city of Highland, where they started to report a jump from 5.9 to 7.5 new cases per 100,000. The county as a whole is at 2.9 new cases and on its way to under 2 cases, hopefully, which will then allow our county to move into the yellow or minimal tier. So we're moving in the right direction as a whole. The CDC also announced this week that vaccines may become available for children ages 12 and up within the next couple of weeks. So that's good news. And we do continue to partner with the county and our private partners to make vaccines available. This includes pop-up and mobile vaccine locations at various district properties and parking lots. And we're also looking at adding a second full-time vaccine site with the county, which we will announce to you once we have that solidified with the county. That's the update I have for you on COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vitir. And if we can go to our next.
I had a question.
I'm sorry, I was trying to come off mute. Mr. Tillman has a question, I think, for Mr. Vitir.
I mean, to me, the spike in Highland, has anybody investigated? Is there, what's the word they're using? When it first started and they had a certain area that spiked, what was that called?
Contact tracing?
No. When they had a
Outbreak.
Is that considered an outbreak there in Highland? And is it a certain variant?
Yeah, the information where we pull data from on the public side doesn't go into those specifics. And we know that Tuesdays when the reports come out from the county and to the state. And so we actually see a little bit of a shift over the next week. We'll see some numbers adjust as they check their data. So we can definitely look into that to why the county's seeing that spike over in the city of Highland. It could have to do with testing. Increased testing could increase the number of positive cases as well. So testing is still high on the county's recommendations for making sure that we're following the variants and following cases and stuff like that. So we can definitely get some more information from them on what occurred in Highland.
I think that's important because the city of Highland is in our district. So when those numbers move like that, then we definitely need to know about it just to be on the safe side. It'd be also nice if they have the demographics in terms of the ages. I mean, we've been doing this for so long. We know that people usually test when they get a feeling they might have the virus. So usually the testing information is pretty accurate because, and then I guess that'd be good to see too, in terms of how many people have tested. And there's an anomaly there, but I think it's important to find out because they're so close by, it might impact San Bernardino also. Thank you.
Dr. Flores?
Yes, I'm gonna make a comment and then ask a question. I was reading today, I was looking for it right now, but there's a uptick of 22% in COVID cases nationwide among children. And just like Mr. Tillman said, it'd be good to know the ages, and we really have to be cognizant. And I know a lot of districts that have opened, I don't have the exact data, Mr. Vitir, but there is an increase in kids getting COVID, and then the schools having to quarantine the children in terms of, going back into school and so forth. So in a way, I'm really thankful that we waited until fall, but then I'm also concerned that we have, those safety nets in place as well. So I'm just voicing my concern and so forth. So can you respond to that in terms of getting that data of children's ages?
Yes, Dr. Flores. So we'll look in our data sets and see what the age range is. I was just looking right now and it looks like about 1,400 tests were done within the city of Highland, which is a little bit of an increase from what they did in the previous reporting period. And it was about 33 cases, I think, was the positivity.
And are we still giving tests? So it could be a function of the decrease of testing, right?
Yes.
And even if our I don't even know if our kids are being tested.
Testing is widely available. We do still have the Rodriguez test site open, and the county is still really encouraging folks to get tested. They have seen a decrease in folks going to get tested, as the vaccines become more available. People aren't getting tested as much, so they're really, encouraging folks to still get tested so we can keep an eye on what's going on in the community.
And then one last comment is I read that the Pfizer is going to be available, I think, next Monday to our kids that are 12 to 16 years old. So that's very good news. And hopefully we'll get that down to, our younger ones, right? So that parents will feel more, will feel safer, in the fall. Do you have any updates of when that might be possible? When younger kids will be, the vaccination will be available for younger children?
No, Dr. Flores, you were spot on. That's the same information we're receiving, is that the vaccine, Pfizer is going to be the first.
Right.
Going to get the emergency use authorization for ages 12 and up. And we know that there's also a dip in folks that are getting vaccinated. So we anticipate once that shift happens and once the county gets, make sure that they have enough of the Pfizer, that it shouldn't be an issue with getting folks that are at that age group that want to get in and get vaccinated to do
My
so.
concern is the younger ones as well. So I hope we get updates soon so that our children that are between 5 and 12 will also have that option. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam President, can I go?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to get off mute again. Yes.
And I heard today that they said Pfizer may have for 2 and up in September. Mr. Chair, I think something that's important, because part of Highland is in the Redlands School District, and a portion of it is in San Bernardino. So I don't know if they can maybe working with public health, if this is where these numbers are coming from, maybe we can find out, overlay our district to see the difference too, because some of this, maybe in that area, I'm not going to assume anything or even, put that out there, but I think it is critical for us to see the information for our school district. All of San Bernardino, of course, for the most, not all of it, but most of San Bernardino is in the San Bernardino School District, but the City of Highland shares with Redlands, and Redlands is back opening for school already. So it'd be interesting to find out if we can see the information that pertains specifically to our district. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Applegate.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. And so now, thank you for your questions and comments also to our board members. I'd like to present Mr. Scott Nelson. He is our coordinator of visual and performing arts. He will be apprising you of our proposal.
Good evening. Thank you, Mrs. Applegate. Good evening, board. Good evening, cabinet. It is almost graduation season, and that is an exciting time of year for our schools. And we're excited to have something that might feel something like a normal graduation this time. And to me, a normal graduation has music. And our students are so excited, our teachers are excited to start making music together. So what I'm going to share with you is a plan that would bring them back safely because they'll need to be able to practice. Pomp and Circumstance, I can attest from my years in the band directing room, is quite a long song, and our students need to be able to play well and do their best in preparation for these big events. So that's what I'm going to present to you today. So if I could have the next slide, please. The guidelines that you're going to see from us are based off of the National Federation of High Schools, which you might recall that put out a lot of the athletics guidance earlier in this shutdown year. And the cool thing about NFHS is they also collaborated with our national music organization, which is the National Association for Music Education. NAFME. So our plan started from their guidance earlier in the school year, and it also reflects the latest California Department of Public Health guidelines. We took our plan in collaboration with our shareholders. So our high school teachers, our teachers have seen this and helped work on it. Our site administrators have had input, and we've also taken it through our IMT teams and their various subgroups. So here's, I'm not going to read at you. You have the basic points of the plan. Bullet number 1 is the basic protocols that we're all getting kind of used to wherever we might go. I'm going to skip ahead to bullet number 3 on the topic of masks. So we have already ordered, we placed this order last fall, what I'm calling musical PPE. And so the cloth masks that we purchased have a slit down the front. And so basically a kid can play their horn comfortably while still keeping any extra aerosols from going out. The second thing, and you can actually see there's a saxophone player on the left and then a trumpet player on the right with that. And then the bell covers, best displayed by the trumpet player on the right, also does its best to grab those last little bits of aerosol spray from the end of the instrument. So those are all in stock at our music library facility, ready for distribution. Then circling back to the second bullet, we're following the recommendation of California Department of Public Health that these rehearsals would take place outdoors. And while physical distancing may have changed in these last few weeks, we will stick with 6 feet or more with our musicians. And then for our singers, lastly, the picture at the bottom there, basically the singers would just wear your regular cloth masks. And that's our plan.
All right, Mr. Tillman.
You said comfortable. You saying comfortable based on actually having the students say that the masks are comfortable to play in?
No, that they are able to play in.
And have you seen any students do it?
Oh, they're doing it all across the country right now. Anyone who's playing musical instruments right now in schools is using something like that.
But my question is, have you seen anyone personally stood by someone doing this?
Oh, I have not stood by anyone personally doing this, no.
And I think that's important. I played in the band. I saw people pass out in the band playing with just regular. And to see somebody's nose covered and a slit through their mouth, I just want to make sure that this is reasonable. I mean, and what I want to hear somebody tell me is, I'm a band instructor. We had the band students here, and they played, and they said it was comfortable. You said comfortable. So I just want to make sure it really is, because in the end, I want to hear it from the parents anyway. I'm gonna hear it from the students. So we have to be practical about it. I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. I happen to play the drums in our church choir, and watching folks sing, and these are adults for the most part, but I haven't seen anyone manage to sing through a mask. They use the shields and put the microphone under the shield, but I have the question too about, is it possible to sing through a mask? And hopefully you all will come back to us with the information, but I want it based on somebody come back telling me, we had the choir at San Bernardino High School and the band at San Z, and they did it and everything was great. If there's some issues, we need to know about it.
All right, I'm not seeing any other questions, but I do, Mr. Nelson, thank you, but do want to ask, you did say that this was according to the CDPH guidelines, and is those guidelines is what they have everyone doing across the way, wearing these forms of masks? Because board tonight, what they're asking us to do is to lift this, to give some direction somewhat, so that they can begin to practice. And so we need to find out what our preference is. One, I don't know if the mask is part of that. I'll give you an opportunity to answer that, Mr. Nelson, so we can be clear on that, because otherwise, I don't think we're saying don't wear masks. So can you?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct, Dr. Rogers. The current guidance calls for wearing masks such as this while playing instruments.
Okay. All right, Dr. Flores.
Yes, I was just also curious, like Mr. Tillman, what the kids think about this and what the parents' perspectives are. Do you know, Mr. Nelson?
For the sites that are interested in playing, they are excited to come back, and they're familiar with this guidance. And I think folks are just ready to have another piece of normal back, and making music could be an awesome part of that.
And we're going to be practicing social distancing as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, we recommend at least 6 feet in between players.
Okay. And they will be wearing masks?
Masks with also with the bell covers, which is that picture on the right. If you can see the guy playing the trumpet,
right.
That's a double layer.
And are these rooms ventilated? And can they open windows and doors?
We're recommending outdoors, Dr. Flores, as of right now.
Outdoors? Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
If it's outdoors, I'm comfortable with that because I'm not too keen, given the, the reports by scientists. It doesn't matter what kind of ventilation we have in classrooms, it spreads, it's airborne. And so if it's going to be outside, that's good. Okay, and 6 feet.
Tomorrow morning, first thing.
I got to tell you, that's critical for me. I mean, even the part about, it's harder. I didn't play an instrument because when I try to blow my dad's trombone, I got a headache just trying to blow it. So I'm just concerned about students having to blow and then have to have your nose covered and have the bell covered. I don't know. I mean, and you're saying this is mandatory?
This is the current operating guidance that we would follow. Absolutely.
But Eric, is this mandatory?
No, so CDPH has backed off of the term mandatory for most of their guidance. So they have kind of best practices and recommendations. And so our incident management team looks at the best guidance and consults, in this case, with Scott Nelson and other music entities in the region to see what they're doing. What's the experience that's out there. And so our recommendation was that they follow the CDPH guidance, which is what Mr. Nelson's explaining to you this evening.
And you're saying even if they're outside and they're 6 feet apart, you still have to wear this mask and this cover?
It's recommended.
My fear always as a board member is that we approve stuff, and when it gets down to reality, it makes no sense. So I don't want to have to give folks these masks, and it's totally impractical and impossible for a student to really be able to play and do this. And if there is if it's not mandatory, then I hope we make exceptions for students who may have problems breathing or asthma, and this is only going to exacerbate it and make it worse. And we're coming up on heat. So none of this makes sense to me. Maybe I'm missing something, but I just can't imagine being in San Bernardino and all of a sudden you have a 90-degree, 100-degree weather and you're going to have a mask on and have to blow harder through your bell because you got to cover it up. I just don't see it as being possible. And to me, maybe you space the kids out more and make sure they're facing the same direction so no one's getting it in their face. But being outside, I think you got to take advantage of space versus mask. And you have plenty of space outdoors. So you can, I did marching band. So we did field shows and you could be spaced out as much as you want. I think that'd be the way to do it versus trying to play an instrument or math. It just doesn't seem possible. Thank you.
Ms. Ceballos?
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. I guess Mr. Tillman kind of asked the question that I was going to ask. I was going to ask around whether this was mandatory. So just so that I understand correctly, the guidance that is being requested of the board is to resume rehearsals in person. Is this part of like class? Is this just the clubs and the after school rehearsal type of practice?
So our students are currently, if I'm understanding your question correctly, our students are playing at their homes right now through distance learning. What this proposal is to bring them back in person, because they haven't played together in obviously a year plus. And
but this, I'm sorry, but this is not like an elective class or anything. This is an after school extracurricular activity.
We have students doing it.
And it actually is limited to our students who need to practice for graduation and end of year celebrations, because they need to get ready for those. So that's why we particularly focused on those students.
Okay, and are those students, so it's not class, so it's after school, after extracurricular. Okay, got it. Are those students willing to come back? Are they interested in coming back?
Yes, we have, I can't speak to, certain percentages or whatnot, but we have a lot of interest in some areas of our schools, certain programs, certain teachers that have students that are very interested in coming back.
So what about the students that maybe don't feel comfortable coming back, but still want to participate?
So let me see if I can help, Mr. Nelson. So Ms. Ceballos, this is if I could draw an analogy, it would be like the basketball team, right? When the board gave us permission, or the football team, let's use that one since we've already been there. We did not require any students to come back to participate in football. If they wanted to, we made the experience available to them. If they chose not to, that was okay too. And there was no pressure, there was no, no coercing, anything like that. So this is more akin to that than it is, let's say, like third period orchestra class. This is if you are interested in performing just at graduation, and this is only again to support our graduation ceremonies. If you're interested in coming in, we'll make a venue available to you. Practice, sharpen it up a little bit so that when we go out and perform at graduation, we sound good. That's really all this is.
Okay, so and I understand that. I just want to clarify and make sure for sports, that's not something that can be offered virtually. That's by definition, you have to come together. Music, on the other hand, there is that possibility. And so I would just want to make sure that students that do not feel comfortable coming back, but are still interested in maybe participating, that there is some opportunity for those students as well. I don't see a problem with students coming back in person if that's what they choose to do. I just want to make sure that those that don't feel comfortable coming also are able to have some sort of opportunity to participate as well.
And I can speak to that, Ms. Ceballos. So our students do take music classes, band, orchestra, choir during the school day, during the period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 day. So they are currently getting and have been getting this whole time daily music instruction. And Dr. Volkmer said it perfectly. This is just to provide an outlet for those who are interested, willing, able to practice for an in-person graduation in 4 or 5 weeks.
Right. And like I said, I understand that perfectly. I just want to make sure that the opportunity is extended to those that do want to participate even in this event, but that do not feel comfortable doing it in person. That maybe there is a way that they can do it still virtually if there is a group of students that want to choose to do that. Maybe they could do both. Maybe we have a student that does it virtually, and maybe we have a group of students that does it in person. I don't see a problem with getting students back in if that's what they want to do and that's what they feel comfortable with doing, as long as we have all of these safety, precautions in place. So that's just my 2 cents.
Ms. Rosales Medina?
No, that was just what I was going to clarify because I thought there was a question as far as that this is only an after-school program. My daughter was in band, so it's actually a classroom, and where you you have like that designated period as a class to do. So I just wanted to clarify that. And I'm in favor. I think would be a great opportunity as long as they're using the PPE that they need. It may be a little bit more of a struggle, but I imagine those students that want to come out and participate meet in person, and a lot of them are seniors. This would be a great opportunity to do so. So I would support this.
Thank you. And I believe Dr. Flores, you had a
Yes, I wanted to support what Ms. Medina and Ms. Ceballos said, and I concur with you, Ms. Ceballos, that the kids, if they don't want to participate, they have that option. They can still do it virtually. Is that an option, Mr. Nelson?
Well, yeah. So they would be in-person rehearsals where.
Okay.
I guess there would be a way of maybe setting up a Zoom that we'd have to work out the details of that, because it doesn't sync up. Like if I were to play my clarinet and Mr. Tillman were to play his drums right now together, we would not line up and we would not make music. So logistics would be tricky, but I think the spirit of what you're asking about, students being comfortable, students being apart, I think we can definitely find a way to work that out.
Well, like I was thinking, how they all did the virtual at CSBA. I mean, and we're going to have the technology up. So if there was plenty of kids that wanted to do it virtually, and you had, of course, all the instruments that you needed for whatever the song was, they could, you could pull it off, right? Creatively. And then the ones that prefer to be in person with all the PPE, guidelines and so forth, because you're going to be outside, then that would be, so nobody's excluded. I think that's what Ms. Ceballos was getting at. And so anyway, I agree. It's just the kids that are going to be performing, correct? At the graduations?
Yes, that is correct. And we wanted to make sure that we will provide an opportunity for our students who are in distance learning. We will figure out a way to make sure they also get.
Then I support it. I support it. Thank you, Madam President.
Oh, thank you. And Mr. Tillman, I think you have a final comment there.
Yeah, two things. Anytime you see a whole group of folks playing at the same time, it's pre-recorded. There's no way you can play all at the same time live. Unless I'm missing something, somebody needs to tell me, but it's just impossible. You can't sync all those people with different bandwidth and technology in live. So all that's pre-recorded, which means you could maybe, if they want to take the effort, have someone the group pre-record and play at the graduation as a pre-recorded. Maybe that's something they could do. But I just want to make sure that the board gives direction that if it turns out that these masks are impractical, that we still allow the practicing to go on and the performance, just making sure that we have social distancing, because Mr. Nelson said himself, he hasn't seen anyone actually use this. And I'm looking at it and it doesn't look practical to me. I'm trying to figure out how a person takes the saxophone out of his hole and put it back in the hole easily. Or how do you take the trombone down and then put the trombone back into the hole? How does that even work? But I just want to make sure that the board is saying if it's not practical, it's not something that's mandatory. So maybe. Well,
we're saying that we're for it. I don't think the entire board is saying the option is to not wear masks. So at this point, Dr. Volkmer, we're going to really need some. I'm sure the practice is going to start sometime here soon, and we are going to be able to have Mr. Nelson report back as he stands next to a student and do this activity with them, because we're still saying on the side of safety and the clarity that we definitely want to make sure that it is an option. So I know we have parents most likely watching tonight, and so this is an option. And my understanding, there is going to be some virtual recording somewhere anyway, going along with some of the activities that are taking place. But Dr. Volkmer, if you can, again, just make sure we know, because I don't want anyone to get out of this meeting that we said, oh yeah, it's the option, and then we got some with, some without. We'll know more after it's tested and tried.
That's why I made the point. Thank you.
Well, what we're going to do, board, is have Mr. Nelson at the next board meeting give you a demonstration of playing the clarinet with a mask on.
We'll take that too.
I can do it right now, Dr. Volkmer. Let's do it.
All right, I'll get my drums keyed up.
Okay, we'll take
here's what we heard. You want the kids to have the experience. You're okay with that, virtually or in person. So try to find a way, be creative to get those kids who would like to participate but aren't, comfortable coming in person, is there some way we can link them, hook them in, et cetera, et cetera? Well, our people are very creative, and we'll do the best we can to do that. And then in terms of the mask, we're going to exercise all safety precautions until we observe firsthand that they are impractical, and then we'll make adjustments based on that. That's what I heard. If that
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Nelson, for your willingness to perform it out tonight, unrehearsed. Okay, board, we're going to move forward. I believe that was the conclusion of that small presentation. 7.0, public comments. 7.1, Ms. Cunningham. I am going to read when it comes up on my screen here, and you are getting ready. This is the only time the public will have an opportunity to address the board on items not on the agenda and within their subject matter jurisdiction, such as district policies, procedures, programs, services, or fiscal matters, pursuant to the provision of the governor's executive order N-2920, dated March 17, 2020, certain requirements of the Ralph M. Brown Act are suspended. If you would like to make a live comment at district board meetings, a registration form is required. Forms can be found on the district website and Facebook. This registration form is available for 24 hours prior to all scheduled Board of Education meetings and will close at 4:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes per person, and all comments submitted on one subject will be provided no more than 30 minutes total. A timer will be visible on the screen during your comments. We ask that you monitor your time. Participants are reminded that any inappropriate language or images will forfeit their registration and they will immediately be removed from the meeting. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability from making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because these comments are made at a public meeting. Ms. Cunningham, do we have any public comments tonight?
Yes, Board President, we do. I'm going to start with Michael Padilla. Michael Padilla, if you're available, please unmute.
Hello, Board. Can you guys see me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right. Hello, my name is Michael Lee. I'm the principal of Entrepreneur High School. I also have my assistant principal here, Daniela Carrillo, who will also be part of the short updates of our school. So first of all, Board, thank you for giving me the opportunity tonight to speak. I want to thank all the teachers for the amazing work that they have done this whole entire year. This has been a very difficult and trying year for our students. And I think, as you've all mentioned, our teachers have more than risen to the occasion. So what I want to talk about is just some updates from our school. We know that this year has been a really difficult year for our students during the pandemic. Nationally, they've struggled throughout the years, trying to get their grades up. They struggled emotionally. And it's been our intention this entire year to open up our school. We've promised parents since day one that we wanted to open up our school. And we were able to have students re-enter campus on April 6th, which was a great day for our families, for our students. And it's been very successful. We've made sure all CDC protocols have been followed. We have extra safety precautions to make sure our students are safe on campus. And the biggest thing is our students have taken up the challenge upon themselves and made sure they're wearing their masks all the time. They are, making sure they're following the safety protocols, the social distancing. So our students have been the ones who've, triumphed this, and they've been doing really good. We have about 50% of our students on campus, and the other 50% are logging in virtually. So we have a hybrid model. Our students attend 4 days a week, along with virtual students logging in at the same exact time. So we wanted to make sure our virtual students get the same high quality education as our in-person students. So they log in simultaneously, which has been a smooth transition for our teachers since they've been working on campus since day one. So throughout this entire year, our teachers have worked on campus to deliver virtual learning. So students coming back was a very smooth transition for them. And we invested a lot this year in technology, all our new cameras, upgrade our bandwidth to ensure that we deliver proper instruction to our students. So Mrs. Carrillo will also give you some updates about some other of the community things that we've done this year.
Okay, Ms. Carrillo, if you can please unmute.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Daniela Carrillo. I am the assistant principal along with Mike at Entrepreneur High School. So we thought it was very fitting to just give you an update, especially during this month of May, during mental health awareness, to just let you know of the impact that opening our doors has been for our students. Our counselors and our interns are very happily busy. Our students are very, very happy to be back on campus. We have more rules than we've ever had. And just like Michael said, the students are following all the rules. But the students that are on campus and are taking our counseling services are benefiting the most. Those along with our IEP students. Just the nature of being in a different environment has made these students blossom. They have the best relationships that they've had with the adults on campus. And, you know, like I said, they are happily busy. Everybody on campus is happily busy. But just wanted to let you know that, you know, all the students that have come back that are taking advantage of our counseling services, which are very popular at the school right now, are all describing themselves as being depressed prior to us opening up the schools. They are so thankful. This week, in the week of Teacher Appreciation Week, they are showing their love to their teachers by giving them flowers for all the ones that have really touched them. So just wanted to give you guys that brief update of what the impact has done for our students, especially in this month of mental health awareness. Our kids are definitely happy, and they're actually excited to take the CAS next week. We are all taking the CAS. We decided to take the CAS, and the students are actually excited about it. They're happy to be back in school, and they're showing in every single effort, socially, mentally, and we're just excited to see how they're going to perform next week. So thank you very much for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam President, our next speaker is Mr. Alfredo Aguero. Mr. Aguero, if you're there, please unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say my comments in Spanish. I hope we got the translator. First, I'd like to know if I can I can read my whole comments, and then the translator can make the end all completely. I sent an email with my comments. I don't know if they got it. Can I do that?
Does our translator have the comments?
Yeah, I do not have the comments at hand.
Even I send the comments on English and Spanish on my email to make it easier for the translator. I can read it all completely, and they can translate it in the end.
If we don't have, it sounds like we do not have them simultaneously. Ms. Cunningham, do you happen to have those readily available that can be sent to?
Yes, I can read them after. I did get the email, so I can read it in English after he does Spanish, if you'd like.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I'm gonna finish all my comments, and then somebody can read in Spanish and
okay,
in
very
the
good.
end. Thank you, gracias. Bueno, mi nombre es Alfredo Agüero. Primeramente quiero dar gracias a los miembros de la mesa directiva y público en general. Voy a ir en español para que nuestra comunidad latina entienda y se entere de las preocupaciones que traemos a estas reuniones. Quiero empezar por recordar mis comentarios sobre el dinero que se gasta en los contratos con las firmas de abogados que se usan para negar los servicios a nuestros estudiantes de educación especial. Pues pensamos que se gastaría menos dando los servicios que pagando abogados para negarlos. Más educación, menos litigaciones, more education, less litigations. También quiero dejarles saber a esa directiva sobre las irregularidades que se continúan presentando en el Comité Asesor de la Comunidad, el CAC, en las pasadas reuniones y antes de las elecciones de los nuevos oficiales Anteriormente la señora Landi nos dejó saber que por el problema de la pandemia nadie sería dado de baja, pero el 22 del mes pasado, día en que se celebraron las elecciones de los oficiales, resultó que 3 miembros del comité fueron dados de baja: el señor Eudocio Rojas, Marisa Torres y Anita Murillo. Al momento en que salieron las minutas del 3-18-21, yo quise que se agregaran los comentarios de la señora Landi, pero no se me autorizó, con el pretexto de que era solo el minuto estaba algo mal. Sí, estaba algo mal, faltaban los comentarios de la señora Landi. Ya después tuvieron fallas en el audio. Esto solo pasó cuando yo tenía algunas intervenciones o comentarios. Es violación a la Acta Brown. comentarios públicos pasó lo mismo, problemas de sonido. Primero dijeron que porque no mandé mis comentarios escritos en la forma que mandan y que de una manera confusa lo pusieron en la agenda. Después me di cuenta que sí estaban. La forma y la opción de dar comentarios uno mismo. Aquí el principal problema es que muchas personas tenemos problemas para navegar en el internet y yo lo he comentado muchas veces. Una persona anónima dio comentarios sobre mi persona, que interrumpo las reuniones criticando a los oficiales, administradores de CELPA, y que yo no debería ser miembro del comité del CAC por no tener hijos con necesidades especiales dentro del distrito escolar de San Bernardino. Anónimamente cualquiera habla de quien quiera. Pienso que comentarios no deberían ser leídos en ninguna reunión pública. Espero recuerden las acusaciones que se me hicieron con cartas de sus abogados, acusaciones sin dar fundamentos ni nombres de los testigos. Aquí les mandé también los códigos que hablan sobre los meetings, cómo se llaman las reuniones, o sea, el Brown Act. Y el código 54954.3C dice: el cuerpo legislativo de la agencia local no prohibirá que el público critique las pólizas, procedimientos, programas, servicios de la agencia o actos omisos del cuerpo legislativo. El Código de Educación del Comité de SAC 56190 dice que las personas preocupadas por las necesidades de las personas con necesidades especiales también pueden ser miembros de este comité. También que personas con alguna discapacidad pueden ser miembros. Yo personalmente soy una persona discapacitada. Gracias y espero que de verdad sirva de algo venir aquí a estas reuniones a traer nuestras preocupaciones. Quiero agregar que la señora Rogers, el señor Wyatt, la señora Gio y la señora Ceballos estuvieron presentes en esa reunión y ellos fueron testigos de lo que pasó. Muchas gracias. Gracias por su tiempo y espero que en el futuro el CAC pueda seguir continuando progresando, porque hay progresos, pero continuamos teniendo problemas. Gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Aquino. And Mrs. Cunningham?
Okay, I will read what he sent to me. I'm not sure, but I think the stuff at the very end is not on this sheet.
Okay.
So that's what I can tell. Okay. I want to start by remembering my comments about the money that is spent in contracts with law firms that are used to deny services to our special education students, because we think that less would be spent providing services than paying lawyers to deny them. More education, less litigations. I also want to let the Board of Directors know about the irregularities that continue to be presented in the Community Advisory Committee, CAC, in the past meetings and before the elections of the new officers. Mrs. Lundy let us know that because of the COVID-19 problem, no one would be discharged from the member list. But on 4/22/21, the day the officers' elections were held, it turned out that 3 members of the committee were discharged. Eudosio Rojas, Marissa Torres, and Anita Murillo. But when the 3/18/21 minutes were read, I wanted Ms. Lundy's comments to be added, but I did not, I was not authorized it with the pretext that it was only if the minutes were something wrong. It was the lack of comments from Ms. Lundy. And later they had audio failures that only happened when I had any intervention or comments. In the public comments, the same thing happened, sound problems. First, they said it was because I did not send my written comments in the way they send the application, and the way they send the application is confusing. Way they put it on the agenda. In the form, they give the option of giving comments verbally. The main problem is that many people have problems navigating the internet. I have already commented many times. An anonymous person commented on me interrupting the meetings, criticizing the officers, SELPA administrators, and that I should not be a member of the committee, CAC, for not having children with special needs within the San Bernardino City Unified School District. Anonymously, anyone can talk about whoever they want. I think that anonymous accusatory comments should not be read in any public meeting. I hope they remember the accusations that were made to me with letters from SBCUSD lawyers, accusations without grounds or witnesses. And then he quotes from Government Codes Meeting 54950 to 54963 of the Brown Act, which reads, the legislative body of the local agency shall not prohibit the public from criticizing the policies, procedures, programs, services of the agency, and or acts of omission of the legislative body. And from the Education Code, Community Advisory Committee 56190 to 56194, it says that people concerned about the needs of people with exceptional needs can also be members of this committee, as well as people with disabilities can be members. And in parentheses, he said, personally, I'm disabled. Thank you, and I hope it really helps to come here to these meetings to bring up our concerns. And that was it.
All right, thank you.
All right. We have one more comment. I'm so sorry, I almost forgot. Liliana Valenzuela. Ms. Valenzuela, if you're available, please unmute. And I'm told she's not here.
She's not. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for your comments. And we are now going to move to 8.0, reports, comments by union organizations. Beginning at 8.1, San Bernardino Teachers Association. Is there a representative tonight?
Good evening, President Dr. Rogers, members of the board and cabinet. I'm Ashley Vitas-Alcala, President of the San Bernardino Teachers Association. I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of the 3,000 members of SBTA. We are in the final weeks of what is probably the most challenging and difficult school year in our collective memory. Our teachers and support staff have done amazing things to reach and teach our students, things that they never could have imagined a year ago. So I'd like to start my remarks today by thanking our teachers, as this is National Teacher Appreciation Day and May 3rd through 7th is National Teacher Appreciation Week. If we could applaud them, all of our teachers. And I want to thank each and every one of our teachers for the work that they do each day with our students and families. I also would like to take a moment to recognize that May 12th, next Wednesday, is National School Nurse Day. And our school nurses are also an integral part of our school community. And we want to sincerely thank them for their dedication to the health of our students and staff, and for being that vital link between health and learning that allow our students to be successful when they do come to our school sites or are learning virtually. More than ever, we are looking to the start of the 2021-2022 school year before we've even wrapped up this one. We're all looking forward to a little summer break to catch our breath and get some much needed rest and relaxation. But at the same time, we are also wondering what school will look like in the fall. We want to be back with our students. We want a school year that looks like the one that we left on March 12th, 2020, or actually March 13th, 2020. But we know it won't. We're going to have a new normal. While we are feeling better, and many of us are vaccinated and looking to the future, we must make sure we stay vigilant. As you heard earlier, San Bernardino County continues to be in the orange tier. The case rates for our school district continue to go up and down from week to week. This week, we're back down at 4.5 cases per 100,000. Last week, it was at 5.1. As much as we would like to believe that things continue to move in the right direction, we are still nowhere near the end of this global pandemic. And the number of our children in our district aged 5 to 19 testing positive with COVID has increased again by another 37 cases since you last met. We are now up to a cumulative total of 5,512 COVID cases amongst our youth. And at this time, we still not know exactly how soon, although next week could bring 12 and up access to COVID vaccines. It looks promising that we may have more of our school age students access to them by the fall. And based on what we are continuing to learn about these new variants that have emerged and the older segments of the population getting vaccines, we're starting to see increases in the number of children that are testing positive. So we must continue to encourage vaccination for as many people as possible. We also must continue to take every safety precaution seriously, masking for students and staff, improve ventilation through upgraded air filters and our air purifier units, and appropriate distancing in order to ensure that environments we bring students back to are safe. We continue to be in negotiations for summer school and will soon begin negotiations for returning to in-person learning with students. And one of the strengths of our district has been the collaborative approach the unions and management have traditionally used to problem solve. This board has shown time and again over this last year that it has the best interests of students and staff in the forefront of its decisions on the impact of the pandemic. As we move forward, it is the stakeholder approach to our return to school that will make us successful. We cannot afford to cut corners just to return to normal, whatever that looks like. As I've said before, our successful return must include implementation of safety protocols, procedures, logistics, and implementation, social emotional supports for staff and students, and our core instructional program. We have one more month of school. That is what we have left of this unique and challenging year. It has brought us opportunities and lessons for the future. We have learned that we are resilient and that this district, board, management, and staff works together in ways that make us stronger and supports our students and families first. As I conclude my remarks, I would like to say one more thank you to all of my members, my empathetic counselors, my stretched thin nurses, my inventive psychologists and speech therapists, my creative program specialists and other teachers on assignment, and my hardworking and resilient teachers, pre-K to adult education. I salute you today and every day as you are the backbone of our schools. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, moving to 8.2, California School Employees Association. Is there a representative tonight? I don't see anyone. All right, we will move to 8.3, Communication Workers of America. Is there a representative tonight?
Yes, good evening, Honorable Board and staff. This is Teresa Hunter with CWA 9588, representing the substitute teachers or guest teachers, as we now call them. We are excited about the guest teachers having the opportunity to work in summer school and quite a great number this year. Actually, probably the first time and maybe the first time ever. And of course, this is all due to our circumstances, but it is with hope and a lot of hopefully preparation that the guest teachers will be supporting summer school in SBCUSD this year, and they're looking forward to it. It's been a real challenge with the technology for a lot of our guest teachers and just a lot of us, everybody, I think. But so with the opportunity to return to in-person learning, there's a lot of hope that goes with that, because there's going to be people missing that were with us last year. So we're looking forward to a new start and with hope, and this will help us prepare for the coming year. The summer school will be like a testing ground, help us to get ready for the new school year for in-person in August. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Thank you, likewise. 8.4, San Bernardino School Police Officers Association. Is there a representative on tonight? If not, we will then move to our presentations. 9.1, reports on district task forces.
Thank you, President Rogers. Board, this evening, we're very pleased to bring you updates from both our Latino Student Achievement Task Force and our African American Student Achievement Task Force. And as you know, Board, these groups have been hard at work serving as thought partners with us as we develop better ways to serve these two critical student groups. I want to take a minute to thank the very dedicated members of both task forces for their efforts in helping us get better. The parents, the SBC USD team members, community leaders and partners, your dedication and perseverance is valued and very much appreciated. I got a chance to speak at the African American task force just last evening, and I shared that if you boil down our mission statement, which is a little bit longer in length, it basically proclaims that we want every student to be graduate college and career ready. And we used to put a lot of emphasis on the word "and," giving students those options of being ready for college and being ready for career. Then whatever they choose after high school, they're prepared to meet their choice. And while that's still very important and we want to give students those options, we're now thinking that the critical word in that phrase is every, and that we should take that word every and put it in caps, bold it, underline it, put it in italics, that every student, meaning all, meaning that no student does not achieve to this level. They all graduate college and career ready. And our task forces have been hard at work for quite some time, and even during the pandemic, to continue to promote our mission, and more importantly, to become more deliberate and intentional, improving outcomes for our student groups. So I'm going to turn it over to Anna and her team, who will present along with some of our task force representatives. I want to thank them all in advance for their work and the critical role they're playing in this very, very important effort. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Dr. Volkemer. And board, once again, welcome to our presentation here. And we wanted to update you today on the wonderful work that's been done around both task forces. I think you'll be very pleased that COVID or no COVID, we moved forward. We got a little bit more innovative on how we can complete the work, and you'll hear a little bit more about that. But I want you to really listen for the intentionality and the strategic way that we're approaching increasing our student achievement with these two targeted groups, as with all students, as Dr. Volkemer had mentioned. So let's go ahead and see the next slide, please. So board, the recap of our last meeting, we talked a little bit about our recognitions that we had. It was the Asian American and Pacific Islander Month. We also talked about the flexibility of accommodating our staff as we move forward to bring them back to work. And Dr. Funches has done some wonderful work with his team around that. We also talked a little bit about in-person learning for summer school. You mentioned that you wanted to make sure that we had a virtual academy option. And so we are having options for summer school online learning for all of our students. And then we also talked a little bit more in depth about our accelerated student achievement plan. And you heard quite a lengthy and detailed and comprehensive plan around everything that we're doing for our students as they come back to school. We realize that we have some needs that we are going to have to address, and we're happy to do so. We want to welcome back our students with open arms and make sure that we have all the supports, whether social, emotional, behavioral, of course, academic, but making sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students. Next slide, please. So our objectives tonight are to update you on both task forces, and then you'll be seeing a wonderful video of our visual and performing arts students who have prepared something very special for you. And it's quite moving to see how they continue to be creative and fantastic, even from home. They have found some very great ways to show you some of the art projects and things that they are doing that I think you'll be very pleased about. Next slide, please. So board, we are going to start with our update on the Latino Task Force. And to give you the update, we have our Assistant Director of Multilingual Programs, Mr. Les Ojeda. So I will go ahead and introduce him. Mr. Ojeda.
Thank you, Ms. Applegate. Good evening, Board President, Dr. Rogers, Vice President, Dr. Wyatt, Superintendent Dr. Volkemer, Cabinet, and Community. My name is Les Ojeda, and I'm the Assistant Director of Multilingual Programs, and it is truly a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I think this might be my first presentation in front of the board, so I might be a little bit nervous, but you all are smiling right now, and so hopefully at the end of my presentation, everyone will still be smiling because we have done good work, and I'm very proud of it. Next slide, please. So tonight you're going to receive just some more information on the Latino Task Force and kind of giving you a timeline and also some background on what the committee was all about. We had certain objectives as we started the committee. And of course, it all revolved around our Latino students. We wanted to make sure that our Latino population had the same opportunities that any other student would have to be able to be successful and achieve at a high level academically. So specifically, some of the objectives were to collaborate with stakeholders to explore research, share evidence-based practices, and build collective efficacy around Latino student achievement. To identify impact focus areas, high impact focus areas that will increase performance outcomes for Latino students. And we did it through looking at data. We looked at effective practices, research-based effective practices, and also gathering qualitative and quantitative artifacts. Also creating and strategically implementing a 5-year plan that will improve specific processes, procedures, and systems to grow the capacity of district staff in order to improve the academic outcomes for our Latino students. And finally, to provide equitable access, learning experience, and educational outcomes for all students. As Dr. Volkmer said, we have a district full of different demographics, and it's important to not just focus on one, but we want to create best practices that are good for all students. In this case, we targeted and looked at the specific demographics of Latino students. Next slide. So we started out by having wanting to have multiple stakeholders in our community be part of this endeavor. And so we invited students, parents, teachers, support staff, administrators, and community members. We even had some professors from universities that were able to attend our meetings. Overall, we had approximately 700 stakeholders attend all our meetings from the beginning of the task force until currently. And so we're very proud of that we're able to include multiple stakeholders to be able to really get a clear picture of how we can support our Latino students. Next slide. As you can see, this slide illustrates the timeline. We started back, it's hard to believe, but we started pre-COVID back in 2019. And we continue to do the work. COVID was a bump in the road in terms of being able to meet physically, but we've continued to meet with our task force participants virtually. And we are still moving forward, I feel, in the work. And so even though COVID has been a bump in the road, it hasn't stopped us from really trying to do what we're trying to accomplish, which is to help support our Latino students. You can see the timeline from 2018-19, 19-20, and 2021. And during each meeting, we had our committee members participate in a variety of different activities to learn more about the needs of our Latino community. You can see there by date, kind of some of the activities that we participated in. We don't have time this evening to elaborate on all those because as you can see, we have done quite a bit of work as it relates to the different activities to try to figure out best strategies, educate ourselves on what the issues are, and moving forward and creating a plan. Next slide. From all the meetings and activities, we identified 3 areas that the committee felt would have significant impact on our Latino student population and would enhance their academic success. The 3 areas were as follows. The first thing we looked at was A through G completion. We realized early on by looking at a lot of the data that our Latino students needed to be guided towards A through G completion, just as any other population in our high schools. And we wanted to make sure that we created some systems and had some systems in place to be able to not only monitor them, but make sure that they're placed appropriately so they have the same opportunities given to all students and be able to complete the A through G requirements. We also looked at math in grades 5 and grades 8. Those are pivotal years in math because of the transitions in the middle school and also into high school. And so we wanted to make sure that our Latino population of students was progressing at a rate that was acceptable adequately and growing each year. So we looked at a lot of assessments, the state testing, and some of our benchmarks to identify where the gaps were. And then finally, we identified family engagement as an area where we could improve as a district. It's very important that we educate our families because education is really a team effort. You know, I have 3 kids of my own, and I know my wife and I are always trying to help support them. And part of it is educating ourselves on what they need to accomplish and how to get there. And so I think that's one of the things that we learned and analyzing the data and talking to students and talking to teachers and administrators is that we can improve in the family engagement area. Next slide, please. So we used a variety of collaborative appreciative inquiry activities to be able to identify what our data gaps are. Data carousel and group planning included analyzing demographic academic data. As I explained earlier, we looked at A through G data in the high schools, math assessments in grades 5 and 8, and family engagement involvement. We did a root cause analysis, and we began digging deeper into the whys of why our Latino students were not reaching a potential that we expected them to reach. We had A through G panel discussions and reviewed how students are placed in A through G coursework. A through G coursework, as you know, is what all the Cal States and the UCs require to be eligible to attend our college and universities in California. And we had teacher empathy interviews and classroom observations so that our parents could see how and what is being taught in virtual classrooms. We had teacher-student roundtables discussions around learning and strategies that would support our Latino students. We collaborated with our family engagement department and discussed strategies on how we can better inform our parents and, as a result, better support our Latino students. And we visited several elementary schools with some of our parents and invited teachers of those virtual visits to share strategies they use to help and support our Latino students. Next slide, please. So the improvement process was very intentional and thought out. We looked at training and leading indicators to identify gaps. We then worked with our task force to establish a problem statement and look at the root cause analysis through the appreciative inquiry model. We then worked together to design counteracting strategies and implement some of those strategies. We hit a bump in the road, as I mentioned earlier, with COVID-19 and virtual learning. However, that experience has allowed us to see some things that maybe we wouldn't have been able to see because of the fact that students had to learn virtually. And of course, a large population of those students are Latino. So even though we had to do things virtually, I still feel like we are implementing some of the strategies that we have worked on with our Latino task force. As you can see, the timeline indicates kind of where we're at with the red dot that says you are here. So really the next step is really to write up the plan that's been developed and implement the plan. And then of course, monitor that plan to make sure that it's working. So this next slide, please, indicates the plan development timeline. As you can see, in November of 20, we identified counteracting strategies to close identified achievement gaps. In June, what we're doing is aligning the Latino Improvement Plan priorities with our ASAP and LCAP priorities. Now, remember, when we started this process, there was no such thing as an ASAP plan. And so that's one of the things that I'm trying to explain is that as the years have gone on with this task force, due to COVID, there's been some curveballs thrown at us and we're having to kind of adjust. But don't worry, we're very aware of what the adjustments need to be and we're doing everything we can and we'll do everything we can to make sure that we follow up with our plan. And then finally, in September of 21, we would have completion of the plan, including benchmarks and metrics to measure growth and San Bernardino City Unified School District rollout. And so, of course, once we roll out the plan, we need to monitor the plan. And as I said earlier, make sure that the plan is working and adjust accordingly when it's not, to make sure that our Latino students are getting what they need to be successful. I do have to say that it's been a pleasure for me to be part of the committee. We started out back when Dr. Mitchell was involved. Ms. Applegate has been also very influential in this committee. And we're very blessed to have the support of you, the Board of Education, and our superintendent to continue to help us to support all students, in this case, with the focus on our Latino population. Thank you very much. That's the portion of my presentation. I do have a couple of friends of mine, and I should say a couple of friends of ours that would like to say a few things. I'd like to introduce one of our parents who has been involved and is very involved in our community and our school district, Catalina Castillo, followed by one of our students, Angela Loera, who has had the privilege of being not only part of the task force, but she's also a graduate of our district and now also is working currently as an intern in our district. So Ms. Castillo, if you can hear me, if you can turn your mic on, we're ready for you.
Mr. Ojeda, I'm looking through all the participants. They're not in here at all.
Oh, okay. Is there any way that we can get them in there? Ms. Angela Loera? Angela, are you there?
Yeah, I'm not seeing either on the. Perhaps you can see if you all can, if there was any confusion as to why they're not on the line.
They should have been provided links.
Okay.
That's probably why.
Yes, because I think you're going to have appearance for the other part as well.
If we can go ahead and send them a link in the email, we can proceed with our presentations, and then we can come back after the next presentation and we can get a few words from them.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and text them and let them know to look in the link for their so they can get on. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right, we can move to the second portion of our presentation.
Thank you, President Rogers, and many of you were members of our Latino Task Force as well. I remember seeing many of you there. And so now we will move on to our African American Task Force update. And our African American Task Force is in a different place right now, as they've already written their plan and they have begun implementation. So you will hear more around what they've been doing, strategies, and some of what they've been seeing, some of the results that they've been seeing. So with that, I'll introduce Dr. Greer and he'll go ahead and take the presentation over.
Thank you so much, Ms. Applegate. Good evening, President Rogers, Vice President Wyatt, distinguished members of the board, Dr. Volkemer, distinguished members of our cabinet, and all district and community stakeholders. I'm very happy to be with you tonight on behalf of Educational Services, the ETSA Department, and the African American Student Task Force. Next slide, please. So the objectives for this presentation are: one, to give an overview of the African American Task Force and the improvement plan for African American student achievement, and two, to provide an update on the work, accomplishments, and future direction of the improvement plan. Next slide, please. So before we begin, I wanted to help provide some context for the task force and pay respect to the elders and ancestors who helped make this possible. Folks have been pushing for over 50 years for African American student excellence in San Bernardino. Those people include the first Black SBCUSD board member, Mr. John Woods, who was appointed to the board in 1968 and was the first to bring Black student unions to the district. It includes the West Side Action Group, or WAG, which began in 1972 as a political action group that worked to ensure elected officials met the needs of the African American community. It includes Mr. Hardy Brown, the first elected African American board member and first African American board president, who was on the board from 1983 to 1995. And it also includes Dr. Judy White, the first African American deputy superintendent, who, along with numerous community stakeholders and working alongside with Dr. Volkemer, helped oversee the implementation of the Sankofa program in 2005, the Targeted Instructional Improvement Policy in 2006, and the creation of the ETSA department in 2007. Next slide, please. And over the years, there have been countless others: Ms. Joette Spencer Campbell, Ms. Linda Hart, A. Majati, Ratibu Jaycox, Walter Hawkins, Dina Walker, Rhonda Early, Pastor Sam Casey, Dr. Hill, and Dr. Rogers were very active and supportive as parents and community members as well. And there have been countless others. It's because our school district has consistently heeded the call and has been responsive to the calls, the concerns, and the cries of the African American community that we have an ETSA department and are able to do this work. Next slide, please. That said, the African American Task Force, as we know it today, began in the fall of 2018 with a series of collaborative meetings to discuss the creation of an improvement plan. The first task force was held in February 2019, and by May, the plan had been drafted, shared widely with stakeholders, and ultimately approved by our school board. I started as ETSA director in July of 2019. I set out to explore possible implementation and learn as much as I could about existing district systems, processes, protocols, and equity work. Of course, that year was significantly altered by COVID, but we have continued to explore how we might reach the goals of the improvement plan. We started to pilot and install some work, and we will expand on this next year. Next slide, please. So the improvement plan for African American student achievement that was adopted by the board and cabinet has these 5 targets. The first one is African American student success in 3rd grade English language arts. Then there's success in math in grades 4, 5, and 8. Then there's A through G success. Then there's access to and success in advanced courses. And then there's family engagement. It's important to know that many school districts with equity departments do not have a plan that is as clearly defined as this. This outlines our work and gives us a roadmap. Next slide, please. So I'll speak now to how we're approaching each of the 5 targets. This year, we restructured Ms. Roxanne Williams' work so she could be our ELA Equity Program Specialist. She's collaborated with 10 teachers and has conducted 47 classroom observations during distance learning. She's done an excellent job of building relationships with teachers, giving them feedback and coaching them on our gap closing dispositions and practices. Here's how one of our 3rd grade teachers, Ms. Jackie Irons, described the support she's receiving from Roxanne. Next slide, please.
Hi, this is Jackie Irons from Cypress Elementary School. I have 3 things that I really like about coaching. First of all, I have the most amazing coach, Roxanne, and she and I sit and go deeply into brainstorming about how to meet my scholars' needs. You know, as teachers, we're kind of an island to ourselves, and it's always nice to have an objective listener to watch for maybe blind spots or things I might have missed, and just set up a plan for my scholars to help them be more successful. And the other thing I really like is we've been able to have really open, honest conversations about a lot of things. And it's helped me become a better teacher and meet my scholars' needs more. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So math success. This year, we were able to hire Miss Chitty Kalu, an outstanding 8th grade math teacher for 20 years. She's now our Math Equity Program Specialist. She's worked with 14 teachers this year and has helped them to build relationships with our African-American scholars, provide them with meaningful learning tasks, ensure African-American students are being called on in class, and teach math much more conceptually rather than procedurally. Here's how 2 of her teachers describe Ms. Kalu's support. Next slide, please.
Hi, my name is Brooke Autry de Guzman. I'm an 8th grade math teacher at Golden Valley Middle School. I am so excited that this department has chosen my school to focus in on our African American students. With the distance learning and everything crazy, I didn't even realize how many African American students I had and what difficulties they were going through. So with this coaching in this department, I was able to focus in on them, make a list, and check in with them more regularly. And then also with that excitement, I created our school's first Black Student Union. So I'm so excited. I've been chosen to be a part and to get this coaching and this information. And I can't wait to get more. I feel like I don't have enough yet. But I thank you, and I'm so excited for the upcoming year.
My name is Miss Nemo, and I am currently an 8th grade math teacher at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School. And I would like to say, working with Mrs. Kalu from the ETA department has truly helped with my development as a professional mathematics educator. I am a lifelong learner, and she has encouraged me to reflect on the best instructional strategies in support of African American student math achievement. In addition, she has really helped me think about how am I creating those meaningful math experiences and equitable learning spaces for my scholars. She has also helped me with designing lessons to create opportunities for scholars to write in mathematics, share their ideas, and overall increase student voice. I am truly thankful to have met Mrs. Kalu this school year, and I will always appreciate her support.
Thank you. Next slide. Thank you. There we go. So one critical way that our work will evolve next year is by adopting what we're calling our data-driven equity model. Each month, we'll complete this cycle with a small pilot group of teachers and principals. The cycle includes assessment, analysis, formal reteach plans based on where students are struggling, and closely aligning lesson plans to what students are expected to know and be able to do for that cycle. Next slide, please. So one important tool will be our assessment data equity report. After students are assessed every 4 to 6 weeks, we'll review this with our pilot group of teachers and principals. This will tell us specifically how our African-American students performed. If you can click one time. Thank you. And it will tell us how they performed, on different standards and how they performed on different questions. If you can click one more time. There we go. So this is going to allow us to tailor our support and conversations with teachers much more specifically on African-American student success. Next slide. So how is this different? We know that most districts from here to New York assess students, analyze the results, look at student group performance, and respond to the data in some way. So our model differs from standard data practice in several ways. First, our focus will be on African-American student performance, though this model can and should be used with all students. Secondly, we'll be closely monitoring African-American student performance every 4 to 6 weeks. Next, their performance during those 4 to 6 week cycles will be what drives our support with teachers. All of our classroom observations, teacher coaching, feedback, modeling, and lesson plan support will be based on how Black students performed and where they need help most. Next, we'll be working with teachers to develop formal reteach plans. These plans will be based on the standards students struggled with most, and they'll be taught to students during the first 3 to 5 days after assessments are given. This way, as soon as we identify where students are struggling, we will immediately revisit that content to help them better grasp it. My program specialists, Roxanne and Chitty, they'll be working directly with teachers on these analyses and reteach plans. Lastly, we're incorporating a formal student role. After every assessment, we'll have students analyze their own performance, identify where they did well and where they need to grow, set a performance goal for the next assessment, and create a bar graph that charts their performance on each assessment so they can visually see how they're performing over the course of the school year. We're very excited about this model as it allows us to regularly and systematically look at Black student performance, identify their academic needs, and better help them excel. Next slide, please. High school equity. So we were also able to hire our district's first high school equity program specialist this year. For this role, we were able to hire a veteran high school counselor, Dr. Josianne Beckles, who spent the last decade helping students at Arroyo graduate, go to college, and get scholarships. In her ETSA department role, she is collaborating with schools, developing plans for all of our 408 incoming African-American freshmen, developing student support systems, and monitoring enrollment in A through G and advanced courses. Next slide, please. So for example, here are 4 current African-American 8th graders who are heading to high school in the fall. We've blocked out their names and current schools to protect their anonymity. The first student has a 0.0 cumulative GPA. Dr. Beckles is doing a comprehensive review to see what supports this student may need and if there are any issues going on in the home. This student will likely be recommended for mentoring and tutoring and may be recommended for other programs and supports. The second student has a 1.86 GPA and is in the special education RSP program. Dr. Beckles will do a review here as well, including this student's IEP, to see what supports or programs may be best. This student will likely be recommended for mentoring and tutoring and may be recommended for other supports. The third student has a 2.4. This student will likely be recommended for the AVID program, which has a 40-year track record of helping first-generation students of color go to and graduate from college. They may also be recommended for the Educational Talent Search, which takes place at Cal State. The last student has a 3.78 GPA and is a GATE student. They would likely be recommended for honors courses as a freshman, AVID, Educational Talent Search, and the Upward Bound program. They may also be recommended for mentoring if they need or want it at any time during the year. Next slide, please. So our last improvement plan target is family engagement. Thankfully, we have our District African American Advisory Council President with us, Ms. Devonna Robertson. Ms. Robertson, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Awesome. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to share a bit around the work of family engagement. With the support of the ETSA department, we've been able to continue to have our ongoing monthly DAC meetings, which may not seem like a big deal, but it is, considering that we as parents at times wanted to lay down and give up. And so continuing our monthly DAC meetings, we began a community empowerment series. Looking forward to reconvening our Black Honor Roll and our African American Family Summits, which were huge successes, and people look forward to them. Our community showed up and showed out, and people have been asking in this distance learning context, when can we get back to that? Super excited about this opportunity to breathe life back into the Sankofa program. Really looking forward to that. The focus on ELA third grade work, math for 5th and 8th grade, high school equity work that will be done with Roxanne, Chitty, and Dr. Beckles. Also really excited about the opportunity and the growth that will come from that. But I also want to say that ETSA has been around for 14 years, and I did not know that until I just heard Dr. Greer say 2007. I knew it was around more than 10. And in order for us to take this focus that the African American Task Force has to scale, we have to ensure that we give the ETSA department the staff needed. So that is not just a small pocket of African Americans benefiting from this work, but we really can ensure that all African American students across our district, no matter their zip code, socioeconomic status, their abilities, that they all have access to the great work that the ETSA department is doing. And I also want to share that in the beginning of this second wave, I didn't have the honor of being around when the first African American Task Force was doing their work. I came in on the tail end of that, but really excited when it got revamped in 2018. And I immediately went on an emotional roller coaster. Like, I found myself very excited, hopeful, sad, at meetings almost in tears with frustration, because I recognize that this is a fight that our community has been fighting for a very long time. And I was like, when are we going to move? When are we going to see the progress? When are we going to see the gains that we need to see in our district for our African American children? But I must say that I am hopeful again. But my ask would be that we make sure that we can take this to scale across the district. And in order to do that, we would have to make sure the ETSA department has the team that is needed to be successful. And not again in small pockets, but across the district. And I will say too, I don't know if it was 12 focus areas that we have. Somebody can correct me. And we started with these 5. So even once we get going and we feel strong and confident and we're seeing the good work and the good results of the 5 areas that we focus on now, we still have other areas to tackle. And so I'm excited and looking forward to continuing to be a part of the African American Task Force. And I'm really grateful to the ETSA department for the work that they're doing. And I'm grateful to the cabinet and the board. And I just really encourage you all to continue to support and uplift the African American Task Force. The work is so important and so necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robertson. I want to touch a little bit on APAC here. Last year, I talked with nearly 70 principals and parents about our African American Parent Advisory Councils to learn what was working and what wasn't, to help our schools build relationships with African American families and make the APAC structure more relevant. We created a new APAC training and began piloting it this year. This training is not for parents, it's for principals and front office staffs. The purpose is to help train sites on how to earn the trust of, build relationships with, and empower African American parents. Here's how one of our principals, Randy Clyde, described his experience. Next slide, please.
Good evening, Board President Rogers, Vice President Wyatt, and distinguished board members. I'm Randy Clyde, the very proud principal of Rodriguez Prep Academy. The APAC PD has been a very positive experience for both myself and my team. Most importantly, I feel the experience has opened my eyes to the importance of listening to the stories and experiences of the families we serve. I always knew the importance of building relationships with the community, but this training really helped me understand the urgency and gave me the resources on how to accomplish it. The follow-up meetings helped hold myself and the team accountable to the PD we had received, and was a great opportunity to receive additional support. The parent interviews were a positive experience. Some of the questions were deep and at times personal. but I feel this helped me understand the needs of our African American students, parents, and community. I'm confident that the professional development, the support, and the relationship building with parents will help Rodriguez develop a new APAC, where the parents and site work collaboratively in setting the agenda based on the needs of the community. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next slide, please. So this training includes a research-based 6-step model with 4 hours of initial training and 5 follow-up meetings. We started with 19 schools in the fall, 16 are still working on the model, and 4 schools are on track to be finished by June. Those 4 sites will have parent-driven APACs in place by the time school starts. Now that we have the model down and have worked out the kinks during distance learning and COVID, our plan is to finish with the remaining schools by the fall and take 5 to 10 new schools through the training next year. Next slide, please. And here's our spring summer cohort calendar. It shows you when the initial training sessions and follow-up meetings will be, as well as the objectives and work products for each of those meetings. Next slide. There is the fall calendar. Next slide. Lastly, I'm going to talk very briefly. I know that this has been a while here. Please forgive me. Like Les said, I think that this is the first time that I've had an opportunity to actually share the work of the ETSA department in terms of the improvement plan and the task force since I've been here in the role. So just wanted to make sure that you all were aware of all that we're working on. So lastly, I'm just going to talk briefly about a couple of other things. Next slide, please. So the African American attendance team, I know that chronic absenteeism has been a major concern for our district this year and in years past. In March, the ETSA department created the African American attendance team. The team is working to help curb these high chronic absenteeism rates of our African American scholars. There are 19 of us on the team. Each school has its own team member, and we each check in with our schools every week. We're focusing on African American students with Tier 1 and Tier 2 attendance. Tier 1 attendance is 0 to 2 full day absences. We have over 2,200 Black students in this category, which is excellent. For them, we're working with schools to make sure that they're being included in the positive incentive system and that their good attendance is being acknowledged. Tier 2 attendance is 9 to 15 full day absences. We have almost 800 African American students in this category. For those students, we're working with schools to ensure that all of their absences are accurate or to see if any of them can be removed. And we're asking the schools to find out if the families have any barriers to good attendance, such as homelessness, health issues, unemployment, hunger, or death in the family. Our goal is to keep the Tier 2 students from reaching 18 full day absences, which is 10% of the school year, because that is when they are legally classified as chronically absent. Next slide. And then there's our gap closing teaching. One crucial role that district equity departments play is by providing definitive training for equity, diversity, culturally responsive teaching and related concepts. So to this end, we created this new professional development series, Gap Closing Teaching, a brain-based approach to African-American student achievement. It covers the brain-based preconditions for learning, childhood adversity, wellness, socio-cultural awareness, and the teacher mindsets and instructional practices that have been shown to close gaps for students. We piloted this training this year with 3 schools and got consistently positive feedback. Next year, this will be embedded into the supports that we provide to any of the schools who work with us. Oh, next slide. And lastly, we have revamped our website. It now provides much more information about what we're doing and what we've been working on this year. Next slide. And on that note, on behalf of the ETSA department and the Ed Services Division, I just want to say thank you very much. Hope to see you at our DAC meeting this Thursday evening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I am not seeing any additional comments in there. It was a very, very great presentation. I have to say that. I know some of us were able to attend the actual live meetings the other day, and the information is there. I think one question that did come up that we did want to make sure, and I think we did hear this from, I see Ms. Medina is going to make a comment, but wanting to make sure, you know, as we're hearing this as a board, what did resonate when we heard the presentation the other night, and this is probably for both task force is, you know, the support, meaning staff and those type of things. And I know Dr. Volkmer is on, and I'm sure Superintendent Irving is also watching. And that's something that we would like to know, because there's a lot of, this was kind of scaled back, but very detailed nonetheless. But I know there was a lot more questions the other night around that support and talking about, you know, the work that's going to be done, bringing in those 408, you know, our freshmen starting out on that slate to move forward. And we could hear it. It definitely going to require a lot of support. And I kept hearing that number. I think it was 5, but is a staff of 5 or is it 6? Which number is that?
5 in essence, and one of them is me, and then one of them is my secretary.
That's what I thought we heard. So we certainly want to make sure that we're raising that, you know, as a board, because we do know as we look at funding, we want to be directing it where the funding can support getting the work done, not just having it, you know, it sounds good, but we want to be able to, as Ms. Robertson said, we want to make sure it gets done, and we know it takes legwork. So let me let Ms. Medina chime in here.
I had a question before her, but I can wait.
I'm sorry. I will get you, Mr. Tillman, yes.
Can we go back to the slide with the absences? So I'm assuming these numbers are from what year?
This year, from a couple weeks ago.
And in comparison to prior years, do we have that data?
I can double check. I can certainly double check.
And this number that says 18 plus absences is 1,354 students?
Yes, sir.
And who do we have focusing on those students?
Yeah, that's a good, so that you see that number is grayed out because that is work that we have not taken on yet. Yeah, so that's work that we also would need to work on, but have not had the opportunity to chance. We have not attacked that yet. We haven't approached that yet.
And I understand, I mean, your division works on a targeted group, but are there other divisions within the district that are working on these numbers?
So on the tier 1 and tier 2 students, we're getting we're definitely collaborating and being really well supported by a family engagement. In fact, I mentioned that there's 19 of us on the African-American attendance team, and I would say about half of those people are pretty much coming from Beatrice Gonzalez's department and through her work. And that's, you know, Dr. Rodriguez's division, student services. So we're getting a lot of support from them. The community health education workers are part of the team. Leonard Buckner, who is the director of enrollment services, he's on the team, right? So it is really an interdepartmental, interdivisional team, a collaborative team that we have.
How many absences are considered chronic absenteeism?
18.
So what is that? What do we have now? So about 30% of our students?
Of the African-American students?
Yeah.
A little less, because you figure there's about 6,000 African-American students in the district, about 1,300 with 18 plus, and that was as of maybe the second week of April.
So these numbers aren't all inclusive then?
These are the numbers for African-American students.
That's my point is this is 3,000, so you got 4,300.
Mm-hmm. So then there's that other group of kids who have 3 to 8 absences.
Oh, they're not in here.
Yes, sir. No, sir. Sorry. So tier 1 is 0 to 2 absences. So we're looking at the kids with what we would consider good attendance, right? So, and the goal there is just to make sure that they're being included in whatever the positive incentives are that the school has. Because that also helps with positive homeschool communication, which also helps with APAC. And so it's all connected. The tier 2 kids are these students with 9 to 15 absences, right? So those are the kids who are kind of on the cusp. And so the direction from positive youth development and just looking around attendance, the goal is to really sort of freeze that group of students, those absences, and prevent them from getting to 18.
To add to that, Mr. Tillman, a couple of meetings ago, you asked what were we doing to, as we presented on chronic absenteeism and attendance, you asked us, what are we doing? How are we working with the ETSA department to focus on our African-American students, as we had seen that they had high rates of absences. And so because of that suggestion, we brought in Mrs. Applegate, and we asked her, can we engage with the ETSA department? And so we brought in Dr. Greer and all of the directors in student services to strategize around what we could do in order to really provide a more intense look at how we could improve these numbers. And so from that conversation came the African-American attendance team that Will leads in conjunction with all of student services. This presentation is talking about what his department is doing in order to assist positive youth development in their work around attendance.
Well, I would hope that, I mean, maybe we could agendize just talking about this item at some point, but I would hope that for this upcoming return to school for summer and the fall, that we actually convene a group of people that can target these students and have a conversation about what we can do to help them be more successful in the summer program and leading to the next fall. You know, I haven't talked to the new superintendent a lot, but the couple conversations I did have, I brought this issue up and he said he had some ideas also. So to me, this is critical. I mean, these numbers are just mind-boggling. And I know we're in a special circumstance, but it'd be good to see what they were previously, just to put everything in perspective. But we've got to put more resources on out there to help these students and these families. This is just, I mean, to me, this, maybe I'm missing something, but this just seems, I mean, just horrible. I mean, it's just bad. So maybe we need to have a special meeting just to talk about it, but somehow we have to address this. I mean, there has to be, I'd hope that when we had these 18 to more absences than the 1,300 students, how many have been contacted, what are we doing about contacting them, what are the major reasons why we have these types of absences. But I just think we should do more outreach. Thank you.
Yeah, we've been looking at trends in attendance in general. And so what we're looking at is students in K2 have high rates of chronic absenteeism. And so part of the work of positive youth development is also strategizing. We have a team from the community as well as district folks called the Attendance Safety Committee. And together we're going to be shifting the direction of that team to focus on actual strategies. And so instead of them kind of validating our work, we're actually going to be engaging and having true gritty conversations around what we're going to do to remedy this issue. And so, you know, it does take time, but I think one of the victories we have is that we now truly have a partner with the ETSA department in trying to remediate this issue.
And that's the other thing I like to see, and you brought up a good point in terms of grade level, to see what grade levels in all these groups, and then see the comparison between the total district population and other subgroups. So I don't know what we can do in the near future, but Madam President, I think we ought to have a task force to deal with this. These numbers are at a point where we need to put extra focus.
Yeah, and I agree.
Very much.
Thank you. I agree with you, and that's one of the reasons why I said between our interim superintendent and our current superintendent, and looking at these numbers, that's exactly what we want to look at and see what the direction we can go into to mitigate some of this, as well as, we know that this year is a bit strange. But let me pause right here, Ms. Medina and Ms. Dr. Flores, I do see you. It's my understanding that our parents are on the line, so I do want to get their input before we move further, allow them to speak.
Thank you. Ms. Castillo, I know you were here, so if you'd like to go ahead and say a few words.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Rogers, Vice President Wyatt, board members, and all present. As a parent, I was invited to speak on my experience during the Latino Task Force. You know, our Latino student population needs additional support to catch up in certain areas. And this task force is very important to our community. It is important to have parent involvement intentionally focused on our Latino student population, since it includes the majority of our students. Acknowledging the fact that there was a need in the area, the district began looking at the data to see areas of growth where new and additional strategies could be implemented. Bringing together all of the stakeholders involved during various meetings gave us an insight on the needs of our students. As a parent, the roundtable discussion was one of my favorite parts during this process. This gave parents the opportunity to be more directly involved with teachers and staff in the planning and decision-making to help students. Parents were also given the opportunity to visit classrooms and observe the teaching techniques, and they were also reminded of the importance of attendance during distance learning. We need to continue working together, planning ahead for resources and techniques to be implemented with effective monitoring to make necessary adjustments as we move forward. We need to consider more options and tools for our students during these difficult times. Having students speak their needs during the roundtable discussion was also a great addition to the process. I hope the district continues to listen to our students since they have a better understanding of their educational needs, and it's their future that we are helping shape. I believe that we also have Angela Loera to share her thoughts and experience as a student during this process. And her voice is very much valuable as a student being part of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm not a student at the district anymore. I'm pretty sure most of you know you've had to deal with me for 12 long years. But I'm here to give you the point of view of being a student at the Latino Task Force. So one of the reasons that I think the Latino Task Force is really important is because the majority of our district is Latino, and it's nice to know that someone out there is helping our students, that they're not in the dark with all of this, you know, their ideas and their needs, the things that are going to help them, you know, strive, go to college, get better in their education. There's people who are actually paying attention to that. So that was, for me as a student, that was really nice to know. It was nice to show up to a discussion where my point of view was needed, you know? I remember one of the most important and impactful conversations that I ever had was at a roundtable discussion about A through G. And what was crazy was that my counselor and my principal were there, and they were talking about all of these great things they were doing for the students through the A through G, you know, teaching the students about it, you know, the percentage of students who already knew about it, who had already completed it. They had a student speaker there who I knew who was from the IB program, and I was there and I contradicted everything they said because I was coming from a point of view of like the college prep student, you know? And I don't say this to be negative because it wasn't a negative thing, because the next week they were talking to us about it in our classrooms. So having that student point of view there kind of made them see, okay, we're doing great things, but we have to make sure we're reaching every Latino student, you know? So I don't say it as a negative thing. But yeah, to me, it's awesome to see a program that is dedicated to our Latino students. I mean, being a Latina myself, you know, it's really nice to see that they're trying to get us to college, that you guys.
Did we lose her? Angela, are you still there? We might have lost her. We lost her. But I do want to say again, thank you to both of them. I'm glad we were able to get them in because your voice is valuable. Again, I've never, and I think I mentioned this to the parents the other day, just the amount of parents that are coming on the calls, whether it's a town hall or whether it's, you know, the task force, the parents are really showing up, and we're just looking forward to just constantly hearing their input. And as they go back and share with other parents, I think that is huge as well. So thank you both again for coming on. Sorry for whatever it was with the links, but we definitely want to hear from you. All right, Ms. Rosales Medina, can you all hear me? Can she hear me? Can you see her? I can't see.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, no, I'm not able to have the camera. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. First of all, I just want to say thank you for the presentation, both the Latino and African American Task Force. I remember when the initial part was when I was a parent in the district, there was several groups that weren't necessarily funded, and Latino non-Spanish speaking students, you know, were not in that category to be funded, were not mandated. And then of course, our African American students were not mandated by the states to receive or designate certain funds. And I think that's where, to share a little bit of the history part, is where several of us came forward to make sure that we allocated funds for African American students. Equal is not necessarily equitable. So I just wanted to point that out. As part of the history of the school district, we were the first ones in the area to actually have African American funding through a line item in our budget. And no other school districts in our region was actually doing that. So we were one of the first in that area. And just to piggyback on Mr. Tillman's comment with really addressing the absentees, I do agree, and I would support making sure that with the new superintendent coming in, that we start addressing that across the board, African American students, Spanish, or Latino students as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosales Medina. Okay, Dr. Flores.
I want to echo what Ms. Medina also said. We didn't start on the Latino task force until about 2 years ago. And I don't remember the date that we started with the African American. Was it 7 years ago or so? Is that correct, Ms. President Rogers?
Yes, it was back in 2014 because it was right before I came to the board. So
yeah, or 7 years ago, maybe even longer. Yeah. And I just want to reiterate that we need to also begin to address the attendance of our Latino kids, and not in averages. I would like to see them by cohorts, by gender, by our boys, our girls, by 8th grade, 9th grade, you know, by grades, by school, and you know, look to see why. I mean, numbers are okay, but why is it, and I agree with Mr. Tillman, we should have a task force. Why is, it's not, I mean, how would I say, the numbers are just statistics, but what is the rationale behind it? What is it, why is it that our kids are missing so much? And, you know, and let's ask the kids. Let's ask the kids what, you know, what we need to do to support them. And also first of all, I want to thank both directors for the presentations. Thank you very much. I meant to say that at the beginning. It was very good. And I just wanted to make a few suggestions. I think for the Latino students, since we're 80% of the population, 79 point something percent, we need to have more demographic data. And we need to show across the board in terms of, you know, where we're at and so forth. I know we've been given data for A through G, but you know, how many enroll, how many complete it? We need to have all that data so that we know why, you know, we're focusing on that. The math, I'm glad that that was identified as an important aspect in the African American task force, but it's also with the Latino task force. Our math scores are in the you know, dump. I mean, they're really low. I mean, we just have to learn more about what are the best practices that we need to engage in. I'm very confident with Ms. Applegate as our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services. I know she has a depth and breadth of how to get all of this done. She's done it with the ELs and the model. I do know that the model that the African American Task Force is using is an adaptation of that model. And so we need to also use it with our Latino task force, but also all our students, our Asian API, our Indigenous students, our white, all our kids. And so I think that, you know, it's a beginning, but we have a long way to go. I mean, we really do. And I would also recommend that once we start all of this, we have pre and post assessments so that we can see the growth. I mean, the kids will see what they're learning, the teachers will know what to teach, but also our community needs to see, oh, you know, the kids were here, now we did all this stuff, and now they're over here. Okay, so we need to have that data. And so those are my recommendations. And I thank the parents, and I thank you, Angela, for coming forth. I think our board believes in student voice. We need to get the voices of our students, all our students. And so thank you so much, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. And I believe Ms. Ceballos. Read there, Ms. Ceballos. There you go.
You hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. I was muted, sorry. Yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of echo a little bit what has already been said, and, you know, just thank Mr. Ojeda and Mr. Greer. Again, some of the questions that I had kind of already have been answered. One of my questions that I was going to bring up was, how come the Latino task force seems to be so behind in comparison to the African American in terms of where they're at in timelines? It seems like the African American task force is already implementing and monitoring, and as the presentation was being given, it seemed like the Latino task force was not there yet. And so I get that's been answered. So thank you, Dr. Flores, for that. I was not aware that one had already started, you know, and the other one was recently implemented. So with that being said, I absolutely love what the African American Task Force is doing. It's very thought out, and it sounds like it's following very research-based practices, right? And so I would personally like to see that across the district, right? There's no reason why we shouldn't be utilizing some of the things that our African American task force is utilizing for this particular group across the districts with the Latino students, but also our special education students, you know, all our other group of students, because this is what we need. We need monitoring. We need data, pre and post. We need to see where we are essentially failing our students, because we are failing a lot of our students, not just African American or Latino students or special education students. That is the reality. And I know that this is harsh, and sometimes, you know, we want to talk about the positive things that we're doing, and that's great, and I'm all for it, but we do also have to have these tough conversations. And the reality is that we are having a lot of students that are falling through the cracks. And so I personally want to see more of this, of what our African American task force is doing across the district. And I don't understand why it's taken us so long to do that. And so that's my concern. But other than that, great job to both Mr. Ojeda and Mr. Greer. And I really look forward to, I support the task force. I think that we should definitely start that. And I look forward to seeing this develop and spread across the district for all of our students.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So again, to you all, thank you for the in-depth presentation. I know it's been a while before we were able to see an update from the task force, but definitely it is well worth the wait. And we're looking forward to for more implementation. And is this a video, the conclusion video?
Yes. Dr. Rogers, if I can just quickly address a couple of comments before we move on. I just want to say thank you, board. And as always, we appreciate your feedback and we will of course take that into consideration. Ms. Ceballos, just to let you know, yes, it's true. The Latino Task Force was established later. So we are behind time-wise, and then COVID hit. So we did continue with the work and we know we have a long way to go. And so as we come into the school year next year, we realize that we are going to have many needs. And this is why we are looking at everything possible, from system improvements to improvements on how we deliver our service to the school sites and many, many other systems. So thank you very much. And we look forward to your support in helping us to figure all this out for our kids, right? Because that's what we're here for. So we appreciate the feedback. Thank you. And thank you to all the task force members. We had several people that really gave a lot of their time to help us out. And so with that, now we want to showcase our distance learning video, which is a video on our visual and performing arts students. Thank you.
The most amazing thing to me is that everything people will see is what our students have created from their homes.
My name is Torrance and I'm here to show you how great distance learning has been for me.
I'm learning all kinds of new things in this quarantine, like how to hide from the rest of my family.
We should have today all our actors plus set deck, costume and makeup, marketing, and props.
So part of props, we got to start looking at what you guys have and what you guys don't have.
Not my thing, sorry. She's got that whiny little voice.
Anyway.
Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the lights, urban legend?
I'm Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong.
Listen to me, I said don't go in there and you went in!
Hey, do we need to stop?
No, I'm good.
Largest fast food restaurants in America, or really in the world, started off in San Bernardino.
We take care of the kids, we play a game, we brush our teeth, and then we sleep. When does it stop?
I'm done, Jordani, I'm done.
Hi everyone, I'm Chelsea Leon, and in this video I'm going to talk about my experience with schools in Mexico. The concerts, the celebrations, the breath of fresh air, even the breath of fresh smoke.
Kids, come here, quick!
Yes?
What's going on, Mom? I saw it just around the corner. Saw what? The zombie!
in her stomach due to the nervousness of knowing you are about to be 30,000 feet in the air. I miss arriving to my parents' hometown and exploring more of their culture and learning about places that are sacred in their town.
Excellent job. Definitely deserves a
Beautiful.
They did a great job. Great job. And I think I had one last comment here. Ms. Rosales Medina, did I see a last comment in there?
I did. And I just wanted to make sure, history, many individuals are new to the position, and the history piece, I know Ms. Ceballos had asked a question. So during the time, just really briefly, during the time, our lowest performing students weren't receiving any extra funding. Those are African American students. When I became a board member back in 2013, by 2014, I ensured that we had allocations for funds for African American students, because not only were they underperforming lower than our EL students and our Latino students, but they were also not receiving any funding. So that's why that urgency came into place. And then later on, because our EL students did receive funding, our Latino non-Spanish speaking did not. And so then later on, we created the Latino task force to ensure that those that have been marginalized, Latinos non-Spanish speaking, are also included, just to kind of do a recap, because I don't think it was mentioned clearly by former, who are currently now in assistant superintendent positions. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales Medina. And again, thank you all for a great presentation. We appreciate it. And hopefully also Dr. Rodriguez, I know that there's a lot of intel that has came around Operation Student Recovery, finding out a lot of things. And I know you've shared that with a couple of us, but perhaps somewhere down the future in a presentation, we can hear what some of those needs are that you've identified when you all go out to do that work. So thank you again. And we're now going to move on to 10.0 reports and comments. 10.1 board members and comments. So I'm going to go to the chat to see if I see anyone in there. All right, Dr. Wyatt. Dr. Wyatt, you could come off mute. Can you hear me?
Thank you, Madam President. Sorry about that. Just wanted to pull up my notes real quick for our board comments. First of all, thank you again to our cabinet members for the presentations. They were outstanding and informative. Definitely love that video. That was a great video. It's always inspiring to see our kids and our staff and what they're doing during distance learning. And I'm looking forward to the VAPA showcase. That was just a little bit of a taste of it. So that's super exciting to see a snapshot of what we're going to see here in the near future. And just super excited to hear that our students are going to be coming back to in-person music performances and rehearsals and tryouts. So great job to them as well. You know, I know we'll probably have some news reported out by other board members and definitely Dr. Volkemer, but I just wanted to congratulate Arroyo Valley High School Army JROTC leadership team. They have made the finals for the national championship for the ROTC Leadership and Academic Bowl, which is going to be in Washington, D.C. So that is obviously quite an accomplishment, and over 1,716 high schools that competed in the event, and they're making it to the big show. So I just want to give a big shout out to Major Ricardo Williams and our principal out there, Bernie, as well, and the rest of the JROTC team. Just let them know that we're proud of them and we're wishing them best of luck at the competition. So that is it for me.
Thank you. And next, Mr. Tillman.
Yes, thank you very much. In terms of the summer school, I understand that when in the survey or when the parents go to apply for the summer school, it's written there that transportation is available, but there isn't a way to request the transportation. How are they supposed to request transportation?
Mr. Tillman, they're working with the schools. They notify the schools, since the schools are the ones that are doing their summer schools, and then that information is passed on to our transportation department.
And I guess I'm asking, when is the communication gonna go to the parents? I mean, so that the parents know that there's transportation for them. I mean, if a parent fills out the application but there's nothing, and they said transportation is available, but how do they know they're going to get transportation?
The transportation department will contact them, and I can get the exact steps from Marie. So if they qualify for transportation, and so she's waiting to get all of the enrollment from all the school sites.
And there's the qualification, is the criteria going to change, or is it for elementary schools, is it further away than what? A mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, what is it?
It's the board policy. Oh, I don't have it with me. Hold on a second.
It's 1.5, 2.5, and 3.5.
There you go.
Gentlemen.
And if the parents are on a transfer, will they be offered transportation for the summer program?
So, Mr. Tillman, eligible students will receive notification 1 week prior. So I want to make sure that we're letting parents know that. So I'll check with Marie on that. And what was your second question?
If a parent has a transfer, so the school that the student is at is not their home school, will they be provided transportation?
Yeah, so that's based on the board policy as well. And so they may get picked up at their home school. Marie said no.
No, so they won't be.
No.
And do you know how many students we have like that? And can we make a special exception only for the summer because of the whole COVID thing?
You know, it depends, Mr. Tillman, on how many students qualify and the number of drivers that we have available, you know, and just the whole dynamics around that. But we can keep you posted on that.
Okay.
We'll make sure that communication goes out and parents know that they'll get notification.
And I guess that's the part that's missing. There's nothing there. I would like to see something where the parents say that they're requesting transportation, and then I can compare that to the ones who requested it and the ones who requested it and don't qualify versus the one that requested and got it. Then we would see the need, if that makes sense. Because right now we have no way of knowing if a parent even wants transportation.
So I can find out from Marie how she, you know, what's communicated from the school sites to her regarding requesting transportation.
And remember, I know we're looking at a quick turnaround, but I'm looking at doing this only as a unique experience this summer because of the whole COVID instance, and because we have the additional funding, we may be able to pay for additional transportation.
Yes, so there's some limitations on the drivers and our current fleet. So she's working with all that. And it's a really short timeline as well for the routing. So we'll get information to you, and we'll make sure the parents know. We'll communicate to the school sites to ensure that the parents know when they'll be notified by transportation.
Okay, thank you. And then last, you know, I get so concerned when I hear about the absentee rate, because from my perspective, there's nothing more important than attendance. If you're not in class, then your chances of learning diminish. And you may have all the potential in the world, but you lose out. And so maybe we should, once we get the numbers, I think we should do a campaign and just inform parents how important it is to have your child in class every day. There's nothing more important than that. And we had these same issues before COVID. And so I know they're probably exacerbated, but I really think we need to work on some type of messaging so that parents understand how important it is. And then we need to build a vehicle in the district that is aggressive about contacting the parents and working with the parents to get them in. I mean, we have contracts with a number of groups like YAP and Blue. To me, those groups should be used to make those contacts of these students, and it should be clear as to why the students aren't attending and what we can do to give us the biggest bang for the buck to get more students in attendance. So I don't know where it fits in everyone's realm of responsibility, but it's definitely something we need to do a better job at. Thank you.
All right, and Dr. Flores.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to commend, I have 3 comments and a couple of questions. I just wanted to commend Mrs. Applegate and Terry Komnick for their LCAP meeting the other day. It was excellent, and I know that I think they're going to be, Dr. Volkemer, they're going to be working on mapping out the budget, correct? For that, I don't know when we'll get that, but I know I was really impressed with thought exchange because everybody on the call got to voice their comments, and then it was mapped out and in terms of where priorities were, and I didn't get to see the whole conglomerate, but you all collected that. Is that correct, Ms. Applegate?
Yes, Dr. Flores, that's correct. And we will be bringing it back to our next LCAP meeting.
Okay, that'll be great. Okay, that was, I really thought that the meeting was very well organized, and, you know, our parents had a voice. I would recommend that our Spanish speaking parents also be able to do it in Spanish. I don't know if that was available. I got the English one. Was that available also in Spanish?
Yes, it's available in several languages, but yes.
In several languages. Okay, so it was available to them. Okay, I got put in the English. So okay, it's great. And then I want to thank Cabinet I want to thank you all for your correspondences, board correspondences. I know it takes a lot of time for it. And Mrs. Advocate, I really appreciate the summary on the LTELs, on our long-term English learners, and all the strategies that you're implementing to make sure that they're successful. That's another group. That's another group that we have to monitor and focus on. I also appreciated the data and report from Footsteps to Brilliance. It took me quite a while to read everything, but I really, really appreciate it. And as we get more adept at implementing across, the whole district, it'll be fabulous. I know our parents like it, and I know our teachers like it. They tell me. And so thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I didn't know that we had acquired Sturgis. That's really a big one. That's a beautiful auditorium. And I just appreciate knowing that that we got that. So Dr. Volkemer or Janie, I don't know who's the one that was responsible for getting it back, but thank you so much.
That was Mr. Pace and his team that worked with the city over the last several months, probably more than a year. So thank you.
That's terrific. It's really, really great. So my next comment, I know it's going to take a while, but I don't want us to get into a false sense of security because our numbers are going down, because I'm also reading about the variants and how they're spreading. And I just want to know, are we going to test our students during summer school just to make sure that they're, COVID safe? I need to ask that question. And I don't know who is the one responsible for answering that. And I also am getting lots of recommendations from parents. And I know that the state right now, the legislature is only wanting in-person, right, and independent study for students. But I think I'm going to be lobbying on my part, just myself, because, and also recommending the parents to lobby, because some of them want virtual academy. They want a virtual academy because they've lost a lot of family members and they don't feel that it's still safe if their kids haven't been vaccinated. And even if you are vaccinated, I mean, there are cases where you can get COVID. And some other parents are asking about the hybrid possibility. And so those are my questions. And in addition to that, if they do choose the virtual academy, what's going to happen to the kids that are in band, that are in sports? The parents understand that they can't do both, and I don't think that's fair. They should be able, if they're in band, or they should be able to participate in that, and ROCT, all of that. Likewise, I've been getting, I was wondering about classified returning. I understand that classified and managers are returning on May 10th. And I would like to know, did we address the safety concerns that our classified members addressed last meeting? Have we answered their questions and provisions so that they feel safe? That's another question. And then for managers, how was that decision made if nobody is in school? What are they going to do? Or are they going to be given different tasks? I just want to know all of that in terms of their roles and responsibilities. And that's it, Madam President.
Dr. Hill.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say for both presentations, the one about return to school, as well as the African American and the Latino Task Force, you did an awesome job. And I just want to give you the praise for just being really good and understanding what you're doing. We are making progress. Sometimes we don't make it as fast as we want to, but we're making progress. And I just want to again congratulate you for all the work you've done. And I also want to say to our teachers, happy Teacher Appreciation Week. We appreciate you, and we know the students do as well. And I just want to end with giving accolades to Dr. Volkemer, cabinet, directors, everybody else who are out there working on these many projects we give you. My gosh, how many hats do you wear? Because I know when you wake up in the morning, it's always, which hat do I wear today? You're busy, you provided answers to our questions. And I just commend you because as a former administrator, I don't know if I could do it. And I thought I was pretty good. So I just want to say to you, congratulations, and I applaud you for the good work you're doing. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Rosales Medina. Can you hear me, Ms. Rosales Medina? Are you on? Okay, I'm not hearing her. We will go to Ms. Ceballos.
Yes, thank you. Just really quickly, again, I just want to say thank you to everyone. I do have a few questions and a few comments. I want to start by asking about summer school. I was wondering, I know that elementary and middle schools are going to have summer school, but it's my understanding that high schools are only going to be having like a bridge program for incoming ninth graders and credit recovery for 10 through 12. Is that correct? It's not going to be like an actual summer program for high schoolers.
That is this high school summer program, and they are offering also some extra tutoring and enrichment as well.
Okay, so because, and the reason why I ask is because my own child's going into high school, and when I was looking at the survey that was sent out, it didn't really have an option. It was just telling me to contact the high school directly, and I as a parent was feeling a little confused. So I'm wondering, you know, if that confusion is if other parents might be experiencing that same confusion. And so are every high school doing their own thing? Is that why we need to contact our high school directly?
Yes, the high schools are providing their own summer schools.
Okay. Okay. All right, so I'll move on to my next question that I had last board meeting that we had on the presentation of returning to school. In the presentation, there was a section where students were there was an entry point, and students were going to be being taken their temperature, and it occurred to me after the fact, how long is this gonna you know, did we anticipate for how long this is going to take in the mornings? Our students, you know, how is that going to flow? Do parents have to bring in their students earlier than expected? I'm not sure if that was, you know, kind of taken into consideration. With that being said, I would also maybe like to, on that note, I don't know where we are on the late start as far as the district goes. And I know that we had received an email a couple weeks back from an employee in the district asking that, you know, maybe we reconsider and see if we can find a way to implement late start sooner, maybe even this next school year, since, you know, the transition, there's already disruption happening, and, you know, doing that now would make a little more sense than having to do it later. So maybe that's a conversation that we can have. I don't know if that's something that we can, you know, agendize and bring back, implementing late start maybe sooner than what we were thinking as a district. And I think that's it. That's all I have. I just want to say again, thank you to everyone. I won't see you guys for Mother's Day. So all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. And thank you. That was it.
All right, thank you. And I just want to double check that did Ms. Rosales Medina get back on the line, or because I can't see everybody, so I'm not sure. If not, I will just go ahead and make my comments quickly. I just have a quick question in reference to that can be answered at a later date. We had spoke before COVID about the Leave No Money on the Table initiative, which is trying to reach 100% FAFSA completion with our students. So just wondering what department or who is kind of going to provide the oversight on that. Do also want to acknowledge that there were several meetings, and I think we all were bumping as board members, so that's great, out there listening and hearing. But I was surprised Dr. Hill did not mention the headdress ball took place, and we got a chance to, it was drive-in headdress ball, and I've been trying to get there for a number of years, and I was fortunate to be able to be there. And to our surprise, I think when you retire, you just start cleaning up all of the awards that you just didn't know you were going to get. But Dr. Volkemer was acknowledged for the Shining Star Award. He was totally caught off base because he was speaking and doing his normal thing and was walking away, and they said, come back. And so we want to acknowledge you again, Dr. Volkemer, for that amazing work. And of course, we were all there in between multiple calls when we were at the multilingual event, and we saw you actually give your legacy speech. And again, we want to acknowledge you for that, because it's a lifelong work that you have done and your commitment. And then there was even another night with just multiple, I think I sent a copy, or I sent a picture of my command center, and we were on 3 Zooms at the same time. But I did want to support our teacher from their award from San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools for Mr. Treg, and that was awesome as well. So it was a lot has been going on. But again, we applaud the work of San Bernardino City Unified School District. We have tackled the work head on and still being able to do it in a safe way. Was able to see safely our mock team. Our mock trials team was out there, and they had a presentation that I was glad I was able to stop in and see, and again, acknowledge them on behalf of the board for just their endurance and tenacity during such a time. They are still being just troopers, and we just are appreciative to our students for the work that they're doing. And so reminding us again, I said I would continue to be a pest about biliteracy. I want it on all of our minds. It is important. Also, dual enrollment is something that is going to be amazing for our district, and I'm looking forward to that. And our partnership with Cal State and the entrepreneurship, because we're seeing a lot of our students are being creative and doing different things. And so, you know, for us to be able to partner with such a linkage to the future, I think it's great as they create things, and even cyber tech. So thank you all, and we're going to allow 10.2 to take place with Dr. Volkemer.
Thank you, Madam President. Board, a number of recognitions this evening that I'm thrilled to share with you. Dr. Wyatt already mentioned that our junior ROTC group from Arroyo Valley High School is in the national finals. This is huge. Out of thousands of teams, they're in the national finals. They'll be going back to DC in July. Excited to hear about how they'll do, and so proud of everything they've accomplished already. Also want to let you know that Norton Elementary School has been recognized as a Green Ribbon School at the silver level. Green Ribbon Schools program recognizes schools for conserving resources while promoting health and environmental literacy, Congratulations to Principal Elizabeth Cochran-Benoit and the team at Norton Elementary School, huge accomplishment. And then I also want to share with you and the public that Middle College High School was recently among those schools honored as a California Distinguished School at the high school level for their excellent performance on the state's accountability measures. They joined Richardson Prep High as this year's leaders in the California Distinguished School Award program. Kudos to Principal James Espinoza and his team on this outstanding accomplishment. Go Wolverines. Student recognition. Want to congratulate Cajon High School student Junior Burks, who will be graduating in the class of 2021, just coming up, as the valedictorian. Junior will receive a scholarship during the 43rd Annual Scholarship and Community Service Award Program presented by the San Bernardino Valley chapter of the Links Incorporated this coming Saturday morning. Board, this year's event will be held virtually, and if you want to participate, let Karen know and we'll make sure we get you registered. But we want to congratulate Junior not only on being the valedictorian, but also on receiving this scholarship. I have a sneaky suspicion this won't be the only scholarship that he receives with those kind of credentials, so we're very, very proud of him. For staff recognition, I want to extend a special thank you to all of our certificated staff during Teacher Appreciation Week. Recognize them during this very special week in their honor for all of their hard work and dedication. Not only this year, we talk a lot about what's happened during COVID, and it has been extraordinary on their part, absolutely, but they come to the table every year for our kids, and we're just so thankful and appreciative of everything they do around teaching and learning. So we have special messaging each day this week for them to recognize National Teacher Appreciation Week. And then President Rogers mentioned the Assistance League program this last Saturday night. I just wanted to give recognition to that particular partner who have been partnering with our school district for over 50 years. Well, it just happens each and every year. Assistance League of San Bernardino with Operation School Bell, which was typically a clothing provision type of program. They changed it to school supplies and a backpack type giveaway this year, just in relation to COVID. But the Dr. Earl Crane Center, which is just right around the corner from, well, I'm pointing because I'm at the district office, but from the district office, has been in practice for over 72 years, providing much needed dental care to our kids who can't afford dental care, who are underinsured or uninsured. And we hear story after story after story after story about our kids that have major problems in their mouths, and they take care of them at really no cost. And so we're so thankful to the Assistance League of San Bernardino. Wanted to give them a major shout out. The real highlight of that evening, by the way, was getting to relive my wife, who was one of the headdress models 2 years ago in this enormous, if you've never been to the headdress ball, it's like a feat of engineering you can't even believe. It was way higher than her, far wider than her, and it's just an amazing thing. Looking forward to them hopefully being able to return to the headdress ball next year, but we want to say a huge thank you to the Assistance League of San Bernardino for their years and decades and decades actually of support to our schools. And then we want to recognize Mrs. Rosa Loera, who is our DLAC president. Most of you know Mrs. Loera, for her advocacy on behalf of San Bernardino students and more recently on behalf of the Muscogee community. She has been lobbying, along with Angela, who you heard speak earlier tonight. They have been lobbying to get sidewalks into the Muscogee community for years and years and years. Having started at Muscogee Elementary School many, many years ago. Are we queuing up? Oh, I think we're queuing up. Looks like we're queuing up a video. Are we queuing up a video?
Yes.
Okay, let's see the video.
Muscogee residents will finally get sidewalks in their community. Rosa Laura and her daughter Angela have fought a battle for nearly a decade to get sidewalks built for their neighborhood so children can walk to school safely. She says speeding, minimal signage, and few crosswalks put every pedestrian in danger.
They're driving to work and they're always late, so they're always passing by really fast, especially in front of the school.
The California Transportation Commission has awarded Vermont Elementary a $1.9 million grant with a matching grant from San Bernardino County. The money will bring sidewalks, pedestrian flashing beacons, signs, and visible ladder-style crosswalks to this neighborhood.
That's huge.
Yeah. So as you can see, her relentlessness has led to almost $4 million in improvements that will help our kids get to school and then home from school more safely. So we want to give Senora Loera a huge round of applause and shout out for her work in the community. And then just two quick announcements to for our community. Please plan on joining us on May 10th, which is this coming Monday evening. We're having another town hall meeting, and this is our last one in April, was more designed to talk about safety measures. This town hall meeting is going to be more about program. That's May 10th, 6 to 8 p.m. Please come one, come all. We had a huge turnout last time. I think a little over 700 people either tuned in live or were on the call with us. We hope to surpass that even more this coming Monday evening, May 10th. And then our last community input, you'll hear a lot more about the LCAP in June when we have the public hearing and the approval of our plan. But our last community input session is May 25th from 5:30 to 7. Want to make sure all of our community members know about that. Please join us, give us your input. I sense that we'll do another thought exchange, since that seems to have been widely accepted and appreciated, to be able to get your input and get your fingerprints on our plan. So thank you very much. Those are my comments for this evening, President Rogers.
Thank you,
Madam President.
Yeah. Is someone saying
no,
something?
it's because I was, I wasn't able to unmute myself.
I was about to say that. I got the message that you were unable to mute yourself. So is that Ms. Rosales Medina talking, I think? Yeah?
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it was just really quickly with regards to the classrooms as the teachers start to collect their items and so forth for the next school year. How is that being done? I know that we spoke about it briefly at the last board meeting. Want to make sure that how the classrooms will look, and our teachers who haven't been able to pick up their stuff or hasn't been able to get their furniture back into the room, if we can start really addressing that before the next school year, and I imagine you will. Just wanted to do that as a reminder. And of course, may the 4th be with you all.
Love it. Okay. And I
President
also,
Rogers,
yes.
if I may, late breaking news. This just in.
The 40,000, you're beating me. Go ahead.
You go ahead. No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I was going to tell Dr. Volkemer the answer to his prediction already on Junior Burke. He's receiving a $40,000 scholarship from Edison, a STEM of all things. So that is a huge shout out to him. He will be recognized, but that's, again, our students are amazing. They're doing amazing things. And we are so proud of him, and we'll be rooting him on Zoom on Saturday. Gotcha, Dr. Volkemer. Okay, we'll now move to 11.0 consent items. This is the time I have to wake up the board. Yes.
I'd like to pull one, but I'll wait. I forget the order. I'm sorry.
Okay, we gotta get a motion.
I move that we accept the consent items.
Second.
Okay, now we have something to pull?
Yes, Madam President. 11.16.
Okay, 11.16.
I am on the CABA board.
Gotcha. Is there anything else to pull? Anyone else? No?
Madam President, this is Dr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Just 11.3. I don't know if I have to pull it because it's the company's name, the Wyatt Company.
The name, okay.
I have no relationship to the
company. I know you wanted to clear that. And it was funny because they came up on the screen at the headdress ball again too. Okay, any others?
But he's not pulling it, right? There's no need to pull it, it's not him.
Well, Dr. White, are you pulling or are you just making you're gonna make a comment?
I need to pull. I just want to make sure there's a notation to the public that there's no relationship from me.
Okay, okay. All right, so for the balance, if no others to pull, Mr. Tillman.
Aye.
Dr. Flores.
Aye.
Okay, Ms. Ceballos.
Aye.
Dr. Hill.
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt.
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina.
Aye.
Dr. Dowdy Rogers, aye, motion carried. Okay, Dr. Flores, will you disappear? I don't see, is she gone?
No, I'll disappear.
Okay, this will be quick.
All
right.
So moved.
Second.
All right, if there's no other discussion, then Mr. Tillman.
Aye.
Dr. Flores is gone. Okay, Ms. Ceballos.
Aye.
Okay, Dr. Hill.
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt.
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina.
Aye.
And Dr. Dowdy Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. All right. Did she come back in? I hope she came back in. You're letting her know, Dr. Wyatt? Thank you. All right. We are moving on to 12.0 action items. 12.1 personnel report number 18 dated May the 4th, 2021.
So moved.
All right. All right. It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? I'm not seeing none. Mr. Tillman.
Aye.
Is Dr. Flores back in by chance? No. Ms. Ceballos?
Aye, and Dr. Flores is back.
Okay, Dr. Flores?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, we are doing personnel report number 18 dated May 4th, 2021.
Oh, yes,
Okay, Ms. Ceballos? You said I think already,
Yes,
right? Okay, Dr. Hill? Dr. Hill? Is she frozen?
Aye.
Okay. Dr. Wyatt?
Aye. Yeah, aye.
Got it. Thank you. Ms. Rosales Medina?
Aye.
Dr. Downey Rogers? Aye. Motion carried. 12.2, peer assistance and review report of participation.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. If there is no, I see no discussion. Mr. Tillman?
Aye.
Dr. Flores?
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos?
Aye.
Dr. Hill?
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt?
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina?
Aye.
Dr. Dowdy Rogers? Aye. Motion carried. We are now at 3.0, summary of board member request. 13.1, is that going to be Ms. Ontiveros tonight?
It is Dr. Rogers, yes.
Oh,
So I wanted to get that in there, Dr. Rogers, because I haven't gotten to say that in public yet. So yes, President Rogers, it is.
Okay.
So tonight I captured quite a few requests from you. So we'll walk through those and let me know if I get them right for you. So the first request came from Mr. Danny Tillman, who asked us to look into the outbreak in Highland to assess its potential impact on our district. And Dr. Flores qualified that by asking questions about ages and maybe the causes of the spike and that kind of thing. So just looking into what's happening over there with the COVID situation. Dr. Flores then asked if we could monitor for the availability of vaccines for children and share that information with our community. Mr. Tillman then inquired about the use of masks while playing instruments and the impact that might have on breathing for our students. And you eventually, I think, agreed that we would allow practice observing safety measures and then allow us to adjust based on masks if they became an issue. Ms. Myra Ceballos asked about considering opportunities for students who want to participate but are uncomfortable returning to practice, if we could find a way for them to perform remotely. And Dr. Flores echoed that as well. Mr. Danny Tillman asked if we had data on absences from African-American students in prior years and what was our plan for addressing students with more than 18 absences, and then also to consider a task force to look into the absenteeism issue. Dr. Flores then asked she would like to see more data by student group and grade cohort about absenteeism, academic performance, pre and post test scores, and encouraged us to ask students why they might be missing school. Ms. Myra Ceballos asked if we would consider using the African American Student Achievement Task Force procedures for students across the district in order to monitor all students. Mr. Danny Tillman asked if we would share details about transportation with parents and the process for requesting transportation. And Ms. Christakos noted that the transportation department of the school sites would be reaching out to parents who qualified. Dr. Flores asked if we would be testing students, doing COVID testing for students at summer school. You also, Dr. Flores asked if we would offer a hybrid and virtual academy, if those would both be available for students, and then how would extracurricular activities be handled for students who are not attending in person. Dr. Flores asked if we had, if the safety concerns of classified staff had been addressed prior to returning to work. Ms. Myra Ceballos asked if we have a plan to accommodate the time it will take for students to go through the temperature check process at school sites. Ms. Ceballos also asked what our plans were for the late start and whether it can be accelerated to be implemented in 2021-22, and then suggested we might add an agenda item on that topic. President Rogers, but President Dr. Gwen Rogers asked what our status was for the FAFSA completion for the district. And then Ms. Abigail Rosales Medina asked how classroom furniture and teacher property would be returned prior to the start of the new school year.
Ginger, I also wanted to know how it was decided for managers to return and under what conditions and why.
Okay.
And if they're, and also, I don't know if I put that in there, but what if they have a health issue? What are the accommodations?
I will add that one to the list as well. Thank you.
And Ginger, on, I know I'll have that reoccurring announcement that I have, but the one that definitely I don't think has been captured is that we do want to hear from Operation Student Recovery when time allows around, some of the things that they're doing. We kind of just want to highlight that or hear that somewhere in the near future.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, board, if there's nothing else for
Madam President, I think that Mr. Tillman asked to agendize a task force. I didn't hear that, for looking at absenteeism. Is that right, Mr. Tillman?
I did.
Was that on the list, Ginger? Did you put that one down?
I did capture that, that he wanted us to consider a task force for the absenteeism issue.
Okay, I guess I didn't hear it. Sorry. Okay.
That's okay, no problem. I'm glad you're checking, so thank you.
Okay, so I heard someone say it.
Move to adjourn.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you to our viewing audience. We appreciate you. We're in the 8s tonight. This is good. This is good. All right. Good night. Stay safe and God bless to you all. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.